Broadcasting from the beautiful Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com. He's a traditional osteopathic medicine guy. He's a cool guy. He's up in Chicago, and he'll be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Then Christopher Exley, a doc out of Europe, and he's kind of a bioengineering chemistry guy, and University of Sterling, PhD in toxicology, and we're going to be chatting about vaccines and aluminum. He's all over aluminum. Real World of Money on Wednesday. Dr. Scott Kolababa. He has a book called The Untold Stories and Miraculous Experiences Doctors Are Hesitant to Share About Their Patients with Anyone, of all these different people who have out-of-body experiences. And this guy's a traditional doc, and he's got a lot of stories. That's pretty cool. He's just a guy with his stethoscope and all that. And then you've heard of Harvey Beagleson. He's a doc out of now he's in Mexico. He and his son are going to be here. There is a live blood analysis, but then there's also holographic blood analysis, and he's a trip. So he does holographic blood analysis, and he did mine one time, and he was telling me all kinds of things. It's just crazy. I'd like to do it again sometime. Maybe I will. Anyway, so that's on Thursday. Man, we got quite a week, and then open phones on Friday. If you'd like to talk with Tony this morning, good luck with that. It is 888-663-6386. Email patrick@oneradionetwork.com. I was on time this morning, but Tony, he was late, and he was late, and then he was telling me all about. He was trying to hook me up with a redhead. So that's where we got into trouble and just got, So hi, Tony. Good morning.
Good morning. I'll take the rap for that.
Will you take the rap?
No. I'll take the rap.
Actually, I was very running behind this morning. I don't know what happened. It's just a long story. Tony P. is in Windsor, Ontario, which is kind of across the border from Detroit, right? Detroit?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit,
Michigan. Huh. So with Donald Trump and the president, he's going to bring back all these cities. You're going to have a new influx of of Americans coming across the border to do stuff. Maybe I don't know. I've just made it up.
Uh,
Who knows?
we'll,
We'll see. Right? Yeah, we'll see with that one.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see
Yep.
with that one. Tony's probably one of the top guys to bring out the dangers of nano. He was telling me right before the show. I said, "Well, just go ahead and say it on the air." You were Tony. How long ago were you on this idea that this nanotechnology, be it whatever it is, there's a lot of nano stuff out there. They're using it to. You told us that they, Doug and Mel, they actually spray like nano silver on maybe the little cheese slices, those individuals we used to have when we were kids, those little craft things, right? They spray nano there, and they actually spray nano on some meat and stuff like that. And you and others are saying that this nanotechnology, the body doesn't like it, and it's weird.
Well, actually, more research I've done on this. I've actually found out that we were exposed to it since 1960.
60, really?
1960. First, I thought it was 1970. Then I found another report with the nanosilica that they were putting into. Well, this would explain a lot of things, because when silica gets into the bloodstream, it actually crystallizes in the blood, and then it forms its own circuitry, and then it looks for other silica in the system to attach itself to. This was the initial stages of this. Today, it's far more refined. Now these particles are actually got program running them. You got bots, quantum dots, dendrimers, polyfullerenes, and the list goes on. It's not that just these are not just metal or metallic particles. This is the thing people have to understand. They are no longer just a simple piece of metal. These are concentrated pieces of toxic metal, any metal actually, whether it be good or bad for you. If you have nanomagnesium and magnesium, the nanomagnesium will actually kill you. But they also have a script or program running on them so they can self-repair, self-assemble, and self-replicate. So, and again, when they're attached to other biological agents, you have synthetic life forming here. This was basically overwriting the DNA. You know what? I found out about that silica, which really blew me away, is even the dimatrix earth that everyone's been using, none of this stuff has ever really been tested. And what they found out about it is that silica actually shuts down the communications between the cells. The cells can't talk to each other. So what happens is you got this stuff going in the system, and you got a complete scramble going on from the brain, what's in the brain itself, throughout the body. And like people who say, for instance, they use dimatrix earth, and they say they feel relief with it, so forth and so on.
Use what? I couldn't understand that.
Dimatrix earth?
Diatomaceous earth.
Diatomaceous earth,
okay.
Sorry.
That's right.
And anyway, what's happening there is it's not that it's working, it's shutting down the intestines from communicating with each other. So I'm looking at this thing, and I got this research, and it was put into even when it came to the cattle feed. When they went to test the cattle feed on cattle, because they had done some experiments on it, they waived any research on it. Just gave it a GRAS ID,
and
it was allowed.
What is it? GRAS. Generally what's the R? Accepted is safe or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
GRAS.
Okay.
GRAS.
And that means absolutely nothing.
Oh, of course not. Oh, that's GRAS. It's GRAS.
It's exactly what you're saying. And then on top of that, it was not only sprayed in every grain we're eating, it was sprayed in every bin, every container. It was used in the fields. They were using it as a part of the pesticide. Like, we were completely being inundated with it. So this started affecting us even on a genetic level even back then. And then it started getting worse as every decade went on. They started adding different things or doing different things. So it's been insanity lately how many people now who have been prognosed with the so-called Lyme and some of the other stupid things that they've been telling them are now contacting me. It's been an incredible. The exposure is far-reaching now. People are now contacting me about this, and they're starting to use what we're telling them to do, and they're actually starting to see a lot of relief compared to what they were doing before. And I just came up with a device. I haven't figured out how to compact it yet, but I had a woman here the other day, and I told her if she put her hand on this device I built, it would scramble the colon, the smart dust in the colon. Because once you get exposed to this thing, it puts out a multiple field upon you, and then the next thing you know, smart dust is coming out of you. And I didn't realize how impacting this was
What's
in the
smart
colon.
dust? What's smart dust?
Well, because they're spraying smart dust in the fields now, right? So they can regulate the crop. It's basically little tiny computers. They're on a nano scale, and they can regulate. Farmers can now regulate the field to irrigate here, harvest here, so forth and so on. But this stuff doesn't come out, and you're consuming this, and so a lot of the gut issues I'm tying now to a lot of this nano, whether it's any of these, like diverticulosis, enteritis, and it has to do with itis, GERD, pylori, because what's happening there is nanoparticles are synthetic materials, and biofilm will form on anything synthetic. And what's happening is now the body's becoming corrupt with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, generally, like in the gut, do you think the sodium thiosulfate does that get rid of it?
Well, I think it's one of the few things you can use actually to get rid of a lot
I
of the
just got
nanobills,
lucky when I
especially
guessed that one. I just got lucky.
No, actually, it stands to reason if this stuff can pull out asbestos out of your body and can pull out coal dust, which is a carbon dust that's on a nanoscale out of the body, it can pull this out too. But like I said, this is one of those things that detoxing has to be done daily. So you can't do STS daily because that will strip everything out of you eventually. But you can Epsom salt.
Epsom salts. But that really makes you go to the bathroom like crazy.
Yeah.
How could you do that every day?
You can. You can. I mean, you don't want to be overdoing it.
No, I don't think.
I always tell people to combine 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt with 1 teaspoon of borax in about 20 ounces of water, dissolve it, and then drink that throughout the day. What happens is you got a three-way win here. You got borax and sulfur, which actually will pull even radiation out of the body. The borax fortifies the skeletal structure, so now you're reinforcing that. The magnesium and the sulfur flush the aluminum out of the body because we're being constantly saturated with aluminum nanoparticles from the atmosphere. So this is something that can help, again, pull out some of the silica that you've been taking in and other nanoparticles as well. But like I said, it's got to be done daily, and you also have to, again, daily reload the gut with healthy bacteria from foods or from supplements that don't have silicon dioxide in it. That's the one thing. We did a show last week on excipients.
Yeah, boy, that's the one. Tony, so maybe that's one of the reasons why people feel better on our sulfur. It's getting rid of a lot of this stuff, which is many people. Yeah. So you think so? Now, but now sulfur, we don't believe. We have no evidence that it is taking anything out. Just except the good. Take the bad stuff. Why? Why would the Epsom salts take some stuff out? Because there's sulfur in that.
Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. Ooh. So you got sulfur and you got magnesium there. So this is excellent for women. And I tell women all the time to be doing this daily because women are more susceptible to aluminum than men are. Men are more susceptible to cadmium. Okay, we got cadmium coming down on us as well. Well, we talked about nanoparticles, and we said nano silver, nano cadmium, and titanium dioxide, which is also found in supplements, causes the testicles to become completely corrupted and destroyed. It destroys the tubes inside the testicles because it gets past the blood barrier.
I hate it when that happens.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think every male would. I mean, this is why I think one of the reasons why we're having so much ED going on.
Really?
It's because damage being done. Yeah. I mean, if the testicles are being damaged like this, what's happening is your body's going into repair mode all the time. There's nothing there to function with, technically. So this is another reason why you want to use, like you said, any form of sulfur to help, again, pull this out. Women are also susceptible to cadmium as well because the big mineral this pushes out is selenium. And selenium is like one of the main players as far as our immune system goes. So when we're looking at the overall picture here and what's actually happening and why we're so many, I mean, some people you talk to, right? You're using everything under the sun in the health food industry. You're using everything under the sun in the medical industry, and nothing seems to be working. And so you have to ask, why aren't these things working? Or you're going to the medical field, which I've been hearing a lot lately, that they're giving them stuff to mask the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening is you're shutting down the response mechanisms in the body, and this stuff just keeps on making more and more damage.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what the heck?
I
You think
understand.
about this.
Well, there's, as you know, there's millions of people, as you say, that they've been chasing after something for years, natural, other means, and don't seem to get a handle on it. You could very well be true that there's something else that, we just haven't identified yet that is there. It's interesting. One of the biggest, not one of the biggest distributor of sulfur in the world, the sulfur, that they sell. Guess what
Yeah.
the main, well, not the main, but one of the ingredients is
Silicon dioxide.
silicon
Yeah.
dioxide. And it's like,
And now that works. Now, in that case,
man,
the sulfur will deliver that further because it's bound with it.
into the body.
So, yeah, it further pushes it in. So, I mean, because sulfur will work either way. It'll push things in or take things out. Like when you buy supplements, for instance, it has selenomethionine or zinc cysteine. These are sulfur molecules or sulfur proteins that they bound with those metals to deliver those key elements further into the system. So, and then in that regard, it's a positive. But you take the same combination with a sulfur and a toxic metal, if it's bound with it, it's going to deliver it as well. So when you're taking just a sulfur, like we say, magnesium sulfate or any kind of sulfur really, that will get in there. If it's bound to a salt, the salt now allows for better permeation and penetration into whatever you want to go into, whether it's in the organs, cells, or whatever, and it'll pull the stuff out. So when you mention sodium thiosulfate, this is probably the big game player that you want to use. It's even more effective, I find, than EDTA. So I mean, you can do an EDTA in the morning and SCS at night before you go to bed, and but during the day you still have to load the system up with either a proteins or probiotics, bacteria. And we showed last week how to make your own ricotta, which pound for pound, there's only one other dairy product that offers more protein than that. That's some sheep cheese.
I'll be done.
Ricotta.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Let me do a break. My grandma used to make a ricotta at home, too. Let's see if you
Yeah.
do it similar to that you do. Stay right there. Tony Pantelleresco. So it's key. You heard the term sulfur he used, just not in all these different things, sodium thiosulfate, magnesium sulfate, and the Epsom salts. And we do have a pure sulfur that we've been selling now. Gosh, I think it's going to be 4 years, June, July, August, in 4 years in 2 months. Wow, that's how long. Now, this is absolutely pure. 99.9997. We get a certificate of analysis with each batch that Patrick finds. It's hard to find it, just the pure stuff. Like I said, the biggest one in the world puts silicon dioxide in there, and you heard that that's not good. So this is pure, and it costs more than the other guys. It does, because, well, the way Patrick has to get it and the way we package it up, we don't make a lot on it at all. It's a very, very low margin for us because we have it priced as low as we can. So, so people will be able to buy it. We don't make a great deal on it, but we sell more in volume. So it's a nice little revenue stream for us, and we appreciate it. But it's a great product, and people feel better on it. If you'd like to try some, we're going to be ordering up probably again tonight at 6 o'clock. So you can get on an order. Just go on oneradionetwork.com. Try a 3-month supply. United States, Canada, there are 3 prices. And even you on a Monday can figure that out. And if you want more than 2 pounds, just email me and I'll work out a 10% discount for you. You have to go through a different process, but I'll just work with you privately through email, patrick@oneradionetwork.com. This is just pure sulfur, and it's got a love affair with heavy metals. Stephen Buhner, master herbalist, wrote an entire book on pine pollen. Previously, we asked him, what's the difference between gathering some pine pollen, eating that, and then maybe taking survival pine pollen and the grape alcohol, the tincture? What's the difference in the body?
Okay, the difference is pine pollen is probably one of the best nutrient food substances on the earth. And you see, it's made to be uptaken by all of the life around it. All of the other plants take it in and use it for growth. Many of the animals eat it, and it's a very nutrient substance. If you eat it, what happens is it goes through your GI tract and then puts it into the bloodstream, and there's a lot of great stuff in it. I mean, it's really high in amino acids and protein and vitamins, so it's a very magnificent substance. It's kind of a nutrient longevity tonic food, and it will over time raise levels, but if you really want to raise them fast, you don't want to let it go through your GI tract, hence the use of a tincture.
And you can click and order this great product right on our website. Any of these survival links take you right to the pine pollen and order away. OneRadioNetwork.com. And guys and girls like it too, because it'll put some extra little good tea in your body. And many ladies do well with a little bit of tea around menopause. I'll ask Tony why that is, but I know two different ladies that have gone through that part of her life, and both of them feel better when they take a little extra testosterone. I wonder why that is. Well, I'm going to ask Tony. I bet he's going to know. Anyway, it is on sale, pine pollen, all pine pollen products on sale, I believe, for another week. I don't know the exact date, but I think it's coming up real soon. So if you'd like to get on the sale, 20% off on pine pollen products. I do the 4Ps, though. It's really the best one. Tastes the best. And, yeah, just do that one. Go for it. It's pure pollen potency from any survival link. You'll see it on the website there.
Know the Source on One Radio Network.
Good morning. This is OneRadioNetwork.com. The telephone number is 888-663-6386. Email patrick@oneradionetwork.com.
Sorry, orchestra was kind of loud this morning. They got a little carried away. Tony P. Pantelaresco, he has about 612. I think he holds the records of YouTube videos. Alana Morissette is only 2 right behind Tony, and then Kim Kardashian, but Tony's right up there with all those guys on YouTube, and they're probably not as entertaining as Kim Kardashian, but they're fun. You know, Tony just gets a little crazy, and you can just, I guess, Tony, you can just put your name. I know you have a YouTube channel, Herbs Plus Bleed Works, but I suspect I've found stuff on YouTube with you. Just put in Tony Pantelaresco, and all kinds of stuff come up there, and you can, or you could just, I guess, if you wanted to find something like on maybe sulfur, or say maybe zinc, you could put Tony Pantelaresco zinc, right, and something would come up on YouTube, probably.
It works like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you can put my name on there, and it'll take you to a directory, or you can type in Herbs Plus Beadworks, and it'll take you to another directory, and then you got, I think we're at 153 videos now. I'm not sure, I lost track, and like I said, because my day, like I said, has become so crazy and inundated today. It's like I don't know where it goes. My days blur one day to the next. I always felt, like I told you once, I'm out of time. So it's really
so is it? It's just people calling you and emailing you?
I get calls from as far down as Australia, Asia, the Balkan states, Ukraine, the Mediterranean region, Africa. I've been contacted with it from Africa, all across Europe, all across Canada, U.S., Central America, the Caribbean. I get people contacting me from, like, it's almost every corner on a daily basis. So it's they'll hear, okay, for instance, of late I've been getting contacted from Ireland. A lot of people from Ireland have been contacting me. So I help them out, give them suggestions what to do for their health, or they got kids, that get hit with something, and I show them how to make certain things and give it to the children. And one guy contacted me back on YouTube, and he goes, "Yay!" So he was happy with the results I gave, the stuff I gave him. So it. Yeah, I get calls from everywhere, and that's why I'm up 19 hours a day, because everyone's on a different time zone. So I'll even be doing consultations with people, for instance, in Australia or the Caribbean or South America, whatever, and trying to work with them, because sometimes every country that you deal with, the United States, you can pretty well get anything you need. You can either order it, buy it, make it, whatever. In a lot of countries, they can't get access to a lot of things, so I have to give them an alternative to that alternative. or either have to show them how to make it out of their own food supply, or to show them where they can order it. And they're, like a lot of times I don't know so much about the UK, what they can get there, or France.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell them you have to shop around in Europe, or you may have to buy it from the US and have it sent to you.
Which
Then you got
country is the
customs
most? Which country is the most open or the most availability? Is it here in the United States?
Yeah, US by far.
Really?
By far. Yeah, that's why the United States is being attacked so heavily on so many fronts. For instance, when they attack a supplement, for instance, they attack vitamin C, or they attack vitamin E or vitamin A or whatever, because these vitamins, these key vitamins, are very key to fighting off, pathogens, or keeping you healthy. Like vitamin A knocks out measles. Take enough of it. Vitamin C, overall protection, and reverses the telomeres from shrinking. So you got a lot of things that when you see an attack going on, or a fabrication of a product being toxic, like they did with tryptophan back in the 60s.
Right.
Tryptophan is, and then they brought in the drug.
Yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah, would they have one batch where somebody, but a lot of people. Well, no, actually, Dr. Bob Marshall. Bob Marshall. He just recently translated, and he was poisoned with that pretty badly back in, I think, the 60s or 70s. He was part of that batch, but there was a bad batch of it out there, and I think, but boy, they ran with it after that, didn't they?
Oh, sure they did. Yeah. And you know what?
Which is fine, it's fine for that batch, but then you could do another batch, right? I mean,
exactly. I mean, and I think that batch was sabotaged myself because, like I said,
could have been
right after that, they came out with some kind of, was it Valium or something like that to replace the tryptophan.
That's right.
And then everybody got hooked on that drug, and then they were worse off. It's like, just like red rice yeast. Remember that?
Yeah, red rice yeast. That's for high
cholesterol.
Cholesterol, yeah.
Right. Now remember that when that came out?
Sure, yeah.
At the same exact time when that came out, the French came out with a drug that the red rice yeast did the same thing without the side effects. And in fact, they derived the component from the red rice yeast. And at that point in time, the United States started to ban red rice yeast so they can bring the drug in. So this goes on all the time, all the time. So
you can't buy red rice yeast? I thought you could.
No, you can't. You can now because what happened was about a year later, it got challenged because under the DSHEA, it was perfectly allowable, and they had to. You couldn't put a restraint on it under that act.
Gotcha.
This is why they brought the GMP in to sort of seduce or reduce the impact of the DSHEA. So if they bring in a drug and you got a supplement that can do the same thing that the drug can do, for instance, they got all these statins, right? Well, you can go get kyolic garlic, formula 108, 103, 106, 110. Does the same exact thing as the statin does. You can even make your own, like we do with the garlic and MSM that we show you on the YouTube. It'll do the same thing. You can take cayenne, you can take ginger, it will do the same thing. Or you can take enzymes, it does the same thing. But what they did was they brought this stuff in, gave it to everybody. And then all of a sudden your CQ10 levels started to drop. All of a sudden your genetic code started coming unglued. All of a sudden you're starting having the aches and pains. I've seen people with the statins, Patrick, no word of a lie, their hands were purple from the blood vessel damage that this stuff was causing.
It's terrible stuff, Tony. It's terrible stuff.
I had to give people a high dose of vitamin C to put the iron and the copper back into the blood and remove all that dead blood, and then told them get off the statins and go start eating some pineapple and papaya and some garlic, and you'll be fine.
What do the pineapple, garlic do with the statins damage? They just help rebuild the gut?
Well, in other words, you got to thin the blood. Well, you got the enzymes in the pineapple, which will help repair the damage for sure.
Right.
And the garlic will pull the chemical from the drug out of the system, and it'll do the same thing. It'll regulate the flow of blood. So all anybody really has to do is you can use something as simple as bay leaf, make teas out of that, and it'll do exactly the same thing without the side effects of the drug. So there's lots of ways to keep the cholesterol level from oxidizing in the system that causes the problem. Best thing to do is lay off all sugar and all bread products, and you won't have that problem.
Yeah, that's what does the oxidation, not the actual cholesterol. Yeah.
Right.
But so what is the combination you mentioned with garlic and sulfur? You call it MSM, which is sulfur. What is that that combo do? What does it do? Do you actually have a formula?
Well,
You remix the garlic with the sulfur?
yeah, just we show you on YouTube how to make it. Basically, you can extract your garlic any way you want. You can juice it or just extract it in alcohol, and then mix your MSM with it, and then blend it together, and then you got a formulation, and then use teaspoon amounts of it because it's super powerful.
And
Um,
what does that do?
it will again, it'll boost your glutathione levels. It will pull metals out of the body. It will again regulate the flow of your blood. It'll pull out any impurities. Again, it'll strengthen the system, can boost testosterone.
Okay.
So you got a lot of things
Wow.
that it does.
So give me an idea. So I take sulfur, right? I'll do like a
Yep.
teaspoon. If I wanted to just put some garlic in there, how would I do that?
Well, what I show on the YouTube is take a whole bowl, peel it, right? Throw it you
Right.
throw it either through a juicer or a blender.
Right.
Throw it in the blender, add your vodka to it.
Vodka. Tony, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Vodka here.
Hey, listen, good time to use it.
Okay. All right. So you got to have
Hey, so
alcohol,
blend-
huh?
Yeah, for sure, because you want the alcohol to get into the bloodstream right away.
All
Now,
right. Okay.
for those who are alcohol sensitive,
Mhm.
they would use vinegar.
You can use vinegar. Okay.
Vinegar, which can work just as well.
All right.
So you blend it for 10 minutes, strain it, and
Yeah.
then take your MSM. Take 2 tablespoons of MSM.
Whatever you want. That's
mix
a lot,
it.
but you use that much? Okay. But you make it a bigger
Yeah.
batch than just one dose.
That's right.
Okay.
because I don't want to have to make it every day, so I make a big batch and then I store it, and all I use is a teaspoon because it's already made.
Okay. I gotcha. So you put it in the fridge, I guess. It's good.
No, don't
No.
need to.
No.
The alcohol keeps it.
So something magical happens with the sulfur and the garlic and the either the alcohol or the vinegar. Something magic happens.
Well, you got 2 types of sulfur there. Garlic has 2 types of cysteine in it, L-cysteine, allocysteine, and another form of cysteine. So right off the bat, you got something that when you consume it, it's going to convert immediately to glutathione. Number one. So, and again, glutathione is one of your more potent antioxidants. That's a chelator of metals. MSM converts to methionine and eventually to cysteine and then glutathione as well. So you got 2 things that are going to support each other. And then again, MSM is going to do its thing as far as feeding the body, again, cleansing the system, supporting it. And the garlic also is going to do its thing. And again, with the garlic, that'll push for the males especially more toward testosterone. It's one of the things that actually helps the body produce testosterone. So
The cysteine.
again,
Cysteine does it.
the garlic.
The garlic. Oh, the garlic does. It pushes testosterone, really.
Yeah.
No wonder Italians have
Well, you got
so
a
many.
lot of things.
No wonder Italians have so many babies, man.
Hey.
No. Hey, no wonder Italians have so many babies.
Oh no, that's something else altogether.
Is there something else? Okay, it could be the wine or the pasta or something. I don't know.
The olive oil.
The olive oil. Yeah, it could be the olive
Remember
oil.
you talking earlier about pine pollen given to some women?
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to
Okay.
ask you. Yeah, why do ladies? I know 2 different ladies. Of course, there are 2. If there's 2 of them, they're different. That's good,
I will tell
Patrick.
you another.
Why do they feel better when they do? One is doing testosterone pellets, which we don't recommend, but the other lady's doing the pine pollen. She feels better with it, and she's just going through menopause.
I've talked to women about this over the years. Believe it or not, when they have intercourse, and the guy ejaculates inside of them, they're absorbing his testosterone. And you got to remember, women are 3%. What is it? Yeah, 3% of their hormones is testosterone. And just like us, if it goes down too low, you have an imbalance of estrogens or you have an imbalance of progesterone, and that causes a problem. As soon as they take a little bit, all of a sudden they feel better because they're getting their bodies back up to snuff. So, yeah, the simplest way to correct that is just have intercourse. But if you don't want to do that, have a little.
That's more fun
gonna
too than taking. And it's cheaper than taking pine pollen. Isn't that interesting? So that's why they sometimes will give the ladies testosterone.
Well, you look at some of the women who are older who don't seem to have any issues with PMS,
Right.
or they have very minor issues, and then ask them about their sex life, and they'll tell you they got a pretty productive sex life going on at that time, and they're feeling no pain, or they're feeling very nominal pain. And then you talk to women who are not having any intercourse, and then do your comparison. You find it's an interesting.
It's different. Well, wouldn't the hot flashes kind of thing, isn't that a signal also though of toxicity in the body for ladies?
It can be. It also can be that the body is basically fevering to burn out
the
the excess estrogens.
Oh, the excess estrogens, trying to get rid of them.
So, okay. Pauling did a study on that back when he was alive, and he made a comment that if a woman just endured for 1 year and allowed the body to go through its phases of fevering and burning up, they would be balanced in about a year. But it's a very uncomfortable thing to go through for a lot of women, because again, a lot of the women, this goes right back, like I said, to the 60s and 70s and 80s, when they started manipulating the food supply, not only with nano, with genetics, with the glyphosates, with the irradiation, with all the soy that they kept promoting to women. Oh yeah, eat soy, you won't have breast cancer. Eat the iproflavone and you're going to have a good skeletal structure. They loaded them up heavily with these estrogenically based foods. And then now, when they get to the later stages of life, that body, whatever the body didn't clear out at that time, they are dealing with the cumulative effect of what they did. So this is why they're having a lot of problems. I talk to young people today who, instead of menstruating for 7 to 10 days, is 3 days. That's not enough time to clear out the buildup. So what's happening is they're not even getting to the 40-year-old mark. They're like mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s. They're having serious problems going on in their uterus. Some of them have endometriosis going on because the iodine's not there. Some of them are having cervical issues, ovarian cysts. That's the big one I get all the time. They're getting all kinds of ovarian cysts, breast cysts, lumps, all kinds of things because of the overload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know several healthy ladies, though, that just went zip right through their own menopause with nothing at all, but very healthy, very healthy. They eat real well and they exercise and that kind of stuff, so. Tony Pantalleresco, it is June 12th, 2017, and this is OneRadioNetwork.com. So let's go, and so we can do all the emails, because when we start too late, we don't get there. Hello, Patrick and Tony. When Tony has an issue going on, in quotes, do you have issues, Tony? Do you need to talk? Just kidding. He said he adds 1 or 2 drops of turpentine to his coffee. Did you really say that? This approach also was new to Patrick. It's new to me right now. Does he also follow his own rule of doing it 5 times per day when there's an issue going on, as he puts it? Thanks for One Radio Network, from Eric, and he's in Finland. I didn't know you put turpentine in coffee. Did I miss that?
That's an essential oil, so why not? Yeah, I mean, I've done that. I mean, I don't do it all the time. But yeah, anytime I get ill, I hit it even harder than 5 times a day. I go sometimes every 2 hours.
But once again, he's just saying a drop, folks, not a teaspoon, a drop.
Yeah, a drop. So I mean, any essential oil, and we just did something in the last video on that so that people could see it. And I had already one response from somebody who was a real goof who didn't understand the efficacy of essential oils or how to properly take them. Mm-hmm. When you're using anything along those lines, 1 drop is not the end of the world. Your body will utilize it, and as long as you have a carrier, it will get into the system and again get dispersed and be utilized, and then the body will excrete it out. It's that simple. So yeah, if I get hit with something, I'll give you an example. I got hit with something about a year ago. Something was trying to come in, and I was taking 10 grams of vitamin C with a mineral complex that I put together, and I was doing that every 2 hours. In a 24-hour time frame, I had already exceeded 110 to 120 grams of vitamin C.
Whoa!
And I didn't have any bowel issues either. I mean, you went to the washroom, but it was a little softer, but I didn't have any bowel issues because my system used everything I put into it to fight off what was coming on. And then within 24 hours, whatever was there was gone, no issue, no nothing. Then I went back to my normal doses of C, which was about 3 to 5 grams a day. But when I'm on something, because in my situation, I deal with the general population daily. So I don't know what walks through my door. I don't know what they're carrying. And the last thing I need is something on top of what I'm doing.
They bring you gifts. Well. They bring you gifts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When you say now like a carrier, so we've got some great essential oils we get from Living Libations, really beautifully, very well done. So say if you got something like frankincense, or you have something like basil or thyme, all these essential oils that are very powerful. What do you mean, Tony, by a carrier? What does it need to get in there?
You got to put them with something, because if you take them straight up without any carrier, you can literally fry the esophageal lining or the stomach lining or whatever. So you have to put a carrier. Yeah. So you have to like, whether you're using oil, whether you're using a fat, whether you're using a alcohol beverage like wine, whether you're using a coffee, tea, you're putting it on meat or putting it on a sugar cube if you want. Whatever you're doing with those oils, they must have a carrier taken with them, or you will feel the wrath of these things. These things are extremely powerful.
Yeah.
They're not just some kind of little oil that they've pressed out of a nut or seed. These are super concentrated. They've been distilled. The magnitude of their properties are about 100 times more than the whole sum of the plant, if not higher. So you have to use some form of carrier.
Yeah, some form of carrier. So that's why, of course, people doing the turpentine, it's essential oil, as you say, that, and we're doing a teaspoon sometimes at a time, that could be very, very dangerous for your esophagus and your tummy and everything, couldn't it?
Yeah. Could. I mean, there have been instances where I read in the past, like in the 1700s and whatnot, where they were dealing with what appears to be a rope worm then. They didn't call it that then, but there was an incident where a doctor gave a woman an ounce, literally 1 ounce of turpentine.
Whoa.
And she convulged. What came out of her was a 6-foot long worm that had infested her intestinal tract.
No.
So
6 like SIX?
Yeah, 6 feet. So like I said, it came out of her. Well, like I said, when we're talking stuff, I mean, there are methods to certain madnesses, and sometimes that's what it can take, but that's not something you would do normally.
Well, 4 or 5 years ago, I've told the story, I'll tell it quickly again. We had Dr. Hulda Clark on the show, Hulda, and she gave this little formula, and we actually have the formula on our website. You can find it. I'm going to find the exact thing that you can. I think it's New Concepts, Hulda Clark New Concepts. It's a PDF. And she had a thing that she does, Tony, where she used 4 different essential oils, and they're just very common ones. And she had us put them in capsules, right? And do it 3 times a day. So I did that I think you just do it for 2 days. I just did it just for fun, And you know what? I'll never forget, there was about a 12-inch long, as sure as I'm sitting here, silver worm that exited my backside after 2 days of these essential oils. A silver worm. I mean, this was silver. Wow, man! But those oils that she recommended, and I'll pull it up here. They were very common oils. I remember one of them was thyme. I'll find the other one and let you guys know. Isn't that interesting? Now she just had them put them in caps. I guess that protected my tummy from it.
That's a carrier. I mean, it's going to get it down. When it gets down to the lower GI, the lactic acids and the propionic acid, butyric acid, the acetic acid in your colon would have broken down that protein capsule,
right? And
it would have released it in there, so you would have had a super concentration get down into the lower end, and whatever's there ain't going to be happy.
Oh, I tell you what, this is not a happy guy. Now, do you know, does the oil itself croak? Can you conjecture whether or not the oil itself croaks these things like the turpentine, or is it kind of knocking them for a loop and then the immune system gets them? Do we know for sure, or does it matter?
Depends on the what's down there. Most of the time it kills them because it gets into their central nervous system and basically fries it. It gets into the brain and fries it. So let's take it to another level here. Let's say you did have a real Lyme. You had a tick bite or tick inside of you. If you ran an electrical charge, it would literally, in a pulse, static pulse, it would literally fry the tick inside. The central nervous system would be completely fried out. It would die. It would starve itself to death. Then the enzymes in your body would break it apart and get rid of it. But you would get sick from it because of the nauseousness of what's going on. But that's another way of doing it. Now, when you're talking essential oils, this stuff penetrates protein. It penetrates fat. So it's going to go right into the essence of whatever's there and just poison it. And boom, it's done.
Boom.
Now, sometimes if it's big enough, it may not kill it, but it may drive it completely out of you.
Okay, so it might just stun it if it doesn't kill it. It'll just it'll make it go south or go north or something, whatever.
Like in your case, for instance, the worm was so big, if you had taken enough of it, it would have killed it. But instead, you gave yourself enough of this combination where it actually drove it out. It said, "I'm
What do you
leaving."
mean? So it was still living when it left?
Could have been.
Oh, God. I just sent Lynn the link. I found it. And if you'd like to find it before we put it on Tony's show page today, we'll have that link to that hold the clock thing if you'd like to take a look at it, how to use these essential oils for parasites. Her version, anyway. There's a lot of different versions. I'm sure Tony has his. You can just put in Hulda Clark report on killing parasites on One Radio Network on our search engine. It comes right up. And very, very curious, man. So this has probably been around for a long time, parasites and essential oils around the world. I guess probably thousands of years, or not thousands, but probably a long time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is no.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I know the turpentine has been used 1700s for lung stuff. We found some papers that docs were using turpentine in the 1700s for lung problems. Yeah, I was going to find the different... I just wanted to mention to Tony the oils that Hulda talks about. Here it is. Let me see. Okay. 7 essential oils. She says put 2 drops in an empty capsule, swallow immediately, take twice a day for 3 days. Okay. Watch the tapeworm exit with a bowel movement. Sage, thyme, cardamom, coriander, caraway, fennel, and allspice. Wow.
Yep.
I mean, who'd think that those guys would go after essential oils?
Oh, you have the two of those oils you're mentioning, the allspice and the caraway. They are extremely powerful. Your caraway actually is derived from the black seed, and the allspice basically similar to clove. So you got 2 super powerful essential oils there.
Mm-hmm. If you'd like to get some essential oils, go to oneradionetwork.com. Go to Living Libations, and they're up in Canada near Tony, and she has been researching and selling essential oils for probably 25 years, and she gets the very best, totally orgasmic. I mean, just the best. I mean, they're going to cost a little more, but these are pure, and you could order all these and do your own little essential oil things. And with just about 2 drops in each one for 3 times, gosh, you could probably do the whole neighborhood, Tony, with one. You know what I'm saying? You could take care of everybody on the block.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So caraway, is it one of those black oils, black seeds?
Black seed oils. That's what they make black seed oil out of.
I'll be darned. I've been looking at that, Tony. You know, we do these pristine oils from Andreas, where he does it with no oxidation, and they've tested them. No oxidation, or 0.003. And he's got the black cumin seed and the black sesame seed. And boy, you read about what these black oils are doing to people, and they're powerful.
Yep.
They're powerful. They're powerful. They'll go after whatever shouldn't be moving around in there. Okay, I've been listening to shows for a long time by my iPod, and I'm download. Oh no, this is a something having trouble downloading. Okay, I have a question for Tony. Let's see. I have a condition. Which is when the fingers, ring and small, are closing in. I cannot have a flat hand. Oh, I used to know the name of that. Is that like Dupuytren's or something like that? I researched.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what I
know
mean,
what
Tony?
you're
It's a
talking about.
DUP, how it happens, but does Tony have any idea for this? Yeah, I've known people with this. Your fingers get kind of crooked, weird.
Yeah, we've given people things like serapeptase to help break that up. We've given people, what was it called? It was a Chinese herb. Because I had one guy years ago, and I had to give him serapeptase with the herb, and his knuckles literally squeaked because of the condition, and then we had to get him on gelatin and other things too. I can't think of that herb, but anyway, serapeptase definitely needs.
But definitely enzymes are the thing to start with, huh?
Yeah.
That eats the scar tissue.
Eats the scar tissue. You can also take aspirin and create a like a poultice on the area, because aspirin breaks down scar tissue as well. There's a collagen buildup in that area, and so some of the things that they can use is like an aspirin. Again, apply topically as a cream or whatever to help again break it down. There is actually a product. Now you got to read the ingredients. If it's got silicon dioxide or some other fiber material like microcrystalline cellulose. It's got these things in it. Do not use it. But again, if you can find used to be an aspirin cream that had a combination of cayenne and aspirin mixed together,
Wow.
which would allow for penetration and to break that scarring up.
I guess you could get some aspirin powder and mix up your own little thing, huh? Would you put in there, you say cayenne, maybe some enzymes? And
Yeah, a little cayenne enzymes, mix it up, yeah. And that would, again, or you can extract some ginger and cayenne in an alcohol base and then mix it up with the aspirin and then add whatever you want to add to it, whether you want to make a liposome or when you want to add a little fat to it to, again, make your own cream, and then, or a little oil, whatever, and then mix it up and then rub it on.
yeah, don't be shy, too, about really working it like a trigger point thing. It's going to hurt, and you could do that every couple days, and that'll break scar tissue up, and it'll help the body to ditch it. I wouldn't do it every day. Give your body a chance to get rid of it. And it's going to hurt, but that'll help. Scott in Las Vegas, Nevada. Question for Tony Pantalleresco. If you had frequent heartburn, what do you guess is the cause, and what remedy or a set of remedies would you follow to eliminate the issue? He's probably just losing too much money in Vegas on the crap tables. That'll give you heartburn.
He's probably eating a lot of junk.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's just say he's not, but he's in Las Vegas, Scott. So,
I mean, you got to change the diet, number one. If you're getting that regularly, then obviously what you're eating is causing this issue. You can give your baking soda to alleviate the issue, but it's going to keep on returning. So obviously whatever you're eating is creating this problem. So again, get off your bread, get off your grains, get off your pastas, your rice, your corn. Make sure you're not drinking any Ensure, Boost, or Equate products. These are all soy-based
my favorites. Come on. I can't have
Yeah,
my
I know.
Ensure.
So, I mean, if you're eating these things, drinking these things, you are going to have a problem.
We had a doc on the other day. He was a heart surgeon. He did 10,000 heart surgeries, and he's now helping people with out surgery at the last 15 years. And he's not a fan of grains, so you'd like this guy. But he talked a lot about, one of the reasons on the grains is lectins.
Okay.
What do you know about lectins? Can you tell us about lectins?
Off the top of my head, I don't really know anything at this point, but I do know about Reddit. I don't think anymore it's the lectins. I think more today it's the glyphosates because, again, the way it strips the body off, it strips magnesium out of the system, it strips potassium out of the system, it's stripping out key selenium out of the system. So selenium, magnesium, potassium regulate the heart as well. Any health issue you've got going on in regard to these grains, they're all contaminated. Like I said, they're spraying nanosilica in all the bins where they put the grains in. They're spraying the nanosilica on the grains themselves. They're also spraying glyphosate.
To keep the bugs away. Keep the bugs away.
Bugs away, and also the glyphosates so they can harvest them more. So I don't think today the issue is just a simple protein that's causing a problem. I think it's a combination of things. This is something, like I said, when you're looking at things today, and you look at it in hindsight, what we saw back then, and we see what was initiated back then. Over a course of 5 decades, we've got people who've been accumulating these things over a 5-decade period, and nobody's done an actual study on an overall exposure with these things over decades and decades of use. And so when you start looking at translocation, you start looking at deterioration, you start looking at wear and tear, you start looking at miscommunications on the cellular level, you start looking at genetic alterations with all decades and decades of things. It doesn't add up to something, one simple little thing anymore. It's a combination of things and an accumulation of things that have been going on.
Yeah. And then it could take, I think your point is well taken, Tony. If these things are as rocky as you say they are in other people, it could take many, many years for any of this stuff to be tied in together. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to say, well, I mean, it's kind of like vaccines, to connect the dots, and because there's so much,
you got to remember,
so much stuff in there, right? It's just crazy.
Everything was hidden, nothing was out in plain sight, and what we were assuming was safe because we were told it was safe.
Sure.
Was not the case. Okay, you look at our generation, those in the 50s, we came after those from the 40s. So our genetic code was still relatively intact because we hadn't been exposed to these things yet. Okay, our parents weren't exposed to these things. So as a result, our genetic code was pretty much intact. The generations after us, that's when the genetic code started becoming more and more corrupt. When you're starting to see 6-year-old kids, 5-year-old kids using a pump to regulate their pancreas at 6 years old, something's wrong. When we're looking at the overall genetic changes in the human genome, I've often said that for the last 50 years, the human experiment or the human genetics have been changed to a point now where we're at the stage of transgender, and then when you're looking at that, when kids are being born at the last second, the decision for either male or female is decided, and then the genitalia disappears or whatever, one or the other. When that door is left wide open and doesn't do what it's supposed to do, we have an issue. So then you can tie that directly to the genetics in the food supply that have been constantly been put there. So you have, mom and dad having a child is eating genetically engineered foods, is eating nano sprayed foods, is eating irradiated foods, and so forth and so on. The next generation is also eating these things, and then they increase the glyphosates or the atrazine or whatever they're putting in there. The next generation, before you know it, you get down to a third or fourth generation, and now you've got a corrupted genome.
Yeah, I mean, what's it got to do when their genome gets corrupted? It's not good.
Well, it's that, like I said, sometimes, with some of them, they've had to go to the medical field, but they're males. They have to get testosterone drugs in order to sustain their masculinity.
Oh, so you think that's a lot of this low T stuff going on as well?
Well, look at the estrogens that we've been consuming. Look at the plastics we're exposed to. Look at the chemicals in the soaps. It's been, like I said, this is an accumulation. And then on top of that, we got, like I said, raining down on us. We've got nanocadmium, titanium dioxide, because they're using that as the diffractor of light. They're using zinc oxide, nanosilver, and a whole bunch of other barium, and a whole bunch of other things. So you got nanosilver, titanium dioxide, cadmium, which is now attacking the male genitalia. It's destroying it from the inside out. So you got that going on, which is also going to further lower the T. And then the males are also been exposed to high level of plastics, phytolates, and a whole bunch of other stuff, that DES is not whatnot. It's also high estrogenic. And then we are feeding them soy.
Yeah, is it any wonder the birth rates are down all around the world? They're just down. Yep. They're just down. Well, one could conjecture, I guess Doug and Mel, the boys, there's a group of people around the world that want to thin out the population. It could all be a planned event too, but that gets pretty spooky when you look at it like that. So,
well, think of it this way: the male population goes. If your male population goes, there goes your defense.
Oh yeah, Okay, well, we won't go down that because that black hole would probably get us in trouble, Tony. So we'll stay right there.
From the Hill Country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com.
We talk about your health, wealth, and well-being on OneRadioNetwork.com. Once again, here's Patrick.
Yeah, Tony, the NSA always, they already listen to our show, so we don't need to get any more of the agencies in on it. So we'll just keep it at that.
Come on, we'll have a party. We'll invite them all in. Come on.
That's right. Oh God, when they start releasing our shows on WikiLeaks, then we know we're in trouble, right?
No, actually, that's a good thing. I think so
too. Yeah.
Listen. Any publicity is good publicity, and if they're giving that much attention, hey, that's a good thing. That means you're popular.
That's right. If you don't make it on Quackwatch, I know. Yeah. So,
Quackwatch is the.
That's right. Then you've arrived, right?
That's right. That's the standard. You made it there, and I've made it there.
I know you. I know you.
It's funny how. It's funny how. What cracks me up a lot is people contact me. And these are what I call turn-ups. These are people that come in who are paid to come into your site, whatever, to create havoc and mayhem and try to cause distortions. So I don't call them trolls. People used to call them trolls. I call them turn-ups. They always turn up. I'll tell you when they turn up, and you'll find this on with your own broadcast too. They'll turn up when you're speaking the truth, and when your numbers start going to a new level, a new height in numbers that you're reaching people. As soon as that happens, you can count on a turn up or two or 10 or 100 to come and try to hit you and call you whatever, a quack or nutcase or pseudoscience or they'll try to find some fault with your personage or all these crazy attacks. And I have to laugh and smile when I see this, because every time I see this, I think, you know what? You're giving me ammunition to come back at you, number one, which I do sometimes. Sometimes I just basically delete them because they're not worth the time and effort to really talk. But sometimes they throw something out there, and then I have fun with them at their expense, because they think I'm just another pretty face. So I figure, okay, let's give it a go. So then, but you'll see this, you'll notice this, and they, like I said, even with your show is a very unique show because you give everybody a forum which comes in and speaks on behalf of whatever they're doing, which gives exposure to other people of other alternatives that they otherwise wouldn't know or be aware of. So this is one of the unique things about your show. So when you're doing what you're doing and you get certain guests to come on your show and all of a sudden your ratings shoot up, you can bet afterwards.
The turn-up show. The turn-up show.
Turn-up show up.
Yeah, they do. That's a great name. I think I could borrow that. Thanks. Turnips. Yeah, the turnips is good.
They're turnips. Why empower them with the term troll? They're not trolls. They're turnips. They keep turning up and when they're turning up, that whatever you're doing is working.
One time years ago, I was dating a girl who was in show business in the chorus line. She was in a traveling show, and they called the people who were the understudies, the ones that are waiting for the main one to get sick. They called them mushrooms. And I said, why do they call them mushrooms? She said, well, because they keep us in the dark and they feed us BS.
That's right, exactly. The mushroom.
I always remember that. She said they call them mushrooms.
That's kept funny. In the dark, fed a lot of crap.
Mushrooms, because they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to put you on any day. We're going to put you on any day," right? So, sit around and wait for the star to get a cold, and that's a tough way to make a living. Oh well, it's my turnip story. It's my mushroom story. We're going to go to London and talk to Ross. I am enjoying your shows very much. Been listening from the start. Wow, he's a brave guy. Can Tony? Do you know how many years you've been doing this with us, Tony? How long? Has it been 5 years?
I think so.
Wow. Man.
Something like that, yeah.
Can Tony recommend any simple remedies to heart failure in an 85-year-old female who also has heart arrhythmia? Symptoms experienced include, here's her symptoms: shortness of breath, even with light movement, dizziness, fatigue, weakness, confusion, difficulty getting motivated most times of the day. The doctor is trying to treat her with water tablets, diuretics, and beta blockers, but these are not solving the problems. Any ideas which she could take that could add to what her doctor is giving her?
I would get her off of what the doctor is giving her because it's causing her the problems, and get her on magnesium, potassium, magnesium 100 milligrams, magnesium citrate or magnesium chloride, potassium citrate or potassium chloride, 100 milligrams, and get her on taurine, 500 to 1,000 milligrams. Have her do that 4 or 5 times a day initially, and then get her also on hawthorn leaf and flower teas. That will stabilize the heart, and that'll bring her back. Give her a couple weeks, because it'll take a couple weeks, but those drugs that you're giving her are causing more problems.
And you think, I know you don't do medical advice. Well, you do, because what do you care? You're in Canada. Let them come and get you. No, I'm just kidding. We don't want that. But you can give these with that little recommendations, you think pretty safely for most people, what you just said?
That's a general, generally when you give
which
that to people,
do, right?
Generally people, these are best of suggestions, right? So these are suggestions, but based on the research that's there and based on the experience that I had giving this stuff to people, the success rate is pretty high up. We're talking like 90+%. So a lot of times when you're seeing these arrhythmias happening, again, that's usually tied to magnesium and potassium. Taurine directs these minerals into the heart and regulates the heart as well. It also regulates the sugar in the body as well, and the liver. So when you're talking heart arrhythmias, heart support, these are some of the key factors that you have to make sure the system is getting. If she's not, and then the other thing, again, for teas is hawthorn leaf. Not the berry's good, the leaf and flower are stronger and more effective. And the only other thing you may want to throw in there possibly is CQ10, but it's not necessary, but you can throw it in there. But the drugs are on. The diuretics are flushing out the potassium and the sodium and the magnesium levels. So it's not doing her any good giving her a diuretic. That is insanity. I think your doctor's literally trying to expire this woman a little faster. It's my thinking.
Let me do this. Put you on hold for a second. Tony, I have a friend who is having some arrhythmia. Is that where the heartbeat goes fast? Is that arrhythmia?
Yeah, or it could go off. It's not being steadily.
So he's having trouble with fast because he has hyperthyroid. Hyperthyroid, he said, is causing this. Can you, and I'll pass this along to him, can you give him some ideas on that maybe he hasn't thought of?
Get on selenium. He's low on selenium.
What does the selenium do?
It regulates the heart rate and it regulates the thyroid. His thyroid issue is tied to iodine and selenium. When you got a heart going off, getting off whack, that's a selenium issue, because it's tied to the thyroid. The thyroid's causing it, and then he's got to have a selenium deficiency. So he needs to get on selenium, and he might want to do it in a liposome way, where you can get selenium powder, and you can take up to as high as 750 milligrams of selenium when you do it that way at one time before it becomes toxic.
Mix it
something out.
Mix it in a fat, you mean? Make a liposome from it? Yeah.
Make a liposome out of it. Yeah, we found out something back historically in the early 1900s. They were giving super high doses of selenium without any toxic side effects by putting it in a fat, basically a liposome.
Making a liposome.
Because the recommended doses today is between 200 micrograms to 1,000 micrograms in a day. They say after that it gets toxic. Well, when you look at a Brazil nut has 5 milligrams of selenium in it, provided they haven't irradiated or done something stupid to it. So this doctor was actually doing some actual research, and all the STDs, even the powerful STDs that they're calling AIDS, which isn't really AIDS, he was actually treating and curing people with this. So with a combination of other things as well. So the selenium is the big key player here, in this case anyway, for the heart arrhythmia and the thyroid. So again, get on iodine and get on selenium and a good dose of selenium. So either make it in a liposome or take 200 micrograms a day in a supplement form using either a selenium citrate or a selenium methionine form, and do not exceed, in this case, 2 milligrams, which is 2,000 micrograms in a day, because again, there's nothing there to slow it down or to regulate it. And then space it out. Don't take it at once, and you should see some alternative changes in what's going on.
Okay. Tony Pantalleresco, Patrick Timpone. We're going to have fun tomorrow, and I'll give you tomorrow's lineup here in a second. Again, let's go to the phones and take this call. Good morning. You're on the air. Who's this?
This is Robert. Hey, Tony and Patrick.
Hey, Tony. Good morning.
Tony,
Robert, good morning.
Hi. I sent you a link if you want to look at it real quick while we're talking. It's about methylene blue. Tony, have you ever heard of methylene blue?
Methylene?
Yes, I have.
Okay, it's real interesting.
What do you want to know about?
I've never. Yeah.
What's your question on it, Robert?
It's used for all kind of stuff: antidepressant, mitochondrial, cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, increases blood pressure, cognition, and I thought I'd just give it a shot. I just drank some, so go ahead, Tony. What do you know about it?
Really, what you just said, the mechanisms of how it works, I do not know, and because again, I've never spent a whole lot of time researching it. And what you may have to take it with or not take it with, I don't know either, because again, some things you got to remember. When I read stuff like you're reading, I don't believe any of it until I see some actual studies and how it was applied and how it was used to get the effect that they're talking. That's been the problem with the health food industry. We list a whole bunch of things that these things are supposed to be doing, and the list can be 3 miles long, but then when you actually do the research and studies on these things, then you get to see how it actually works. So in this case, I don't know what to tell you, because again, I've never really played with it, nor have I done any real heavy-duty research on it. Like I said, before I do anything these days, based on what I've been seeing in the last 5.7 decades, I'm a little bit, I don't throw caution to the wind anymore. Now I start looking at these things from how did they use it, how was it done, what conditions did this work in, so forth and so on, and that's what I do today. So in answer to your question, I can't really give you an answer because I've never really looked into it.
Okay, I'm shocked. I'm surprised that missed your radar. I knew about it years ago, and trust me, when I say it's been around. This just didn't come around recently. It's been around for a long time.
Oh,
It's actually a
for
medical
sure.
drug, but it's used. Yeah, Patrick? Did you look at that link yet or anything?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on CureZone. So yeah, I'd appreciate it if you'd look into it and then maybe give me your opinion on it next time.
Thanks. Okay.
Thank you.
A lot of stuff out there saying they're going to do a lot of things. Here's an email from a lady here. She's mom is having a hard time with classic arthritis, a lot of pain. Body's kind of overwhelmed. She still manages to work a bit, but would like to know if Tony could maybe give some ideas of what some things that mom could do. Is this generally would be safe to conjecture that this is it an autoimmune kind of thing where the body's attacking, in your opinion, Tony?
Oh, definitely. Well, I was going to mention that earlier when we were on the nano stuff, that a lot of the lupus, fibromyalgia, restless leg, autoimmune where the body's attacking itself, this just doesn't happen.
Right.
Normally our bodies function to protect us. It doesn't look at us as the problem. Excuse me, it looks at whatever's coming in. But once something that small gets into the tissue, when you look at silicon dioxide, let's give you an example. It goes right to the very core of your bone. When it hits the bone, it triggers an autoimmune response right away. And so when you're talking a saturation of these particulates in the cells and the skeletal tissue and the organs, throughout the body now is trying to pull this stuff out or flush it out. But because these things are on a nano scale, the concentration of these components are extremely excessive. So what winds up happening is you get this kind of condition. So in this case, the first thing I would probably tell her to be doing, you can use a topical like Vicks, which has turpentine in it, which would act as an analgesic by applying it topically, and then start with some form of detoxification. And I'm not talking these detox kits. I'm talking Epsom salts in water with borax, charcoal with pectin, EDTA, sodium thiosulfate, something that's going to start pulling the stuff out and then start putting back into her body electrolytes, back into the system, which would have the full complement of the majority of the minerals you need. The only two that I know of that are clean are trisalts from cardiovascular, which gives you 3 different salts, and the electrolyte formula by Nutribiotics. And so start doing that. That would be the best thing. Or the other thing you can also use, even serapeptase. Serapeptase will even break down asbestos, which is a form of silica. So if we can break that down, it'll help start breaking down any of the silicas that may have been accumulated over time.
So these are particular particles of the autoimmune, not necessarily a viral or a bacterial. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't even buy into the viral and bacterial thing anymore.
You don't think that's what's going on?
No, those are, in my humble opinion, based on what I'm looking at, the particles that are embedding into the system is creating anomalies in the body to form because of depletion or whatever. Like I said, we talked about glyphosates earlier. It's taking out 8 or 9 minerals out of the body, selenium being one of them, copper another one, iodine being another one. Zinc is another one. Copper is another one. These are key minerals that keep the body protected. Now, you strip that out, you now basically are in a compromised position for something to happen. So once you remove copper out of the body, for instance, then fungi, bacteria, viruses, parasites, microbes will start to take over because the check and balance to keep that at bay is no longer there. So when you're talking viruses, fungi, bacterium, algae, mold, or microbes in the body, these are, again, based on what I'm looking at, are secondary impacts of something else that's causing or triggering that effect. So I don't believe in this concept of yeast anymore, or candida being the issue. I'm thinking today what people are actually seeing is a form of biofilm that has collected in the body and is overwhelming the body because it's trying to remove this stuff out, but it can't because it's using it's using our own immune system to build to itself within the system. So until you use some things like we're talking earlier, turpentine or essential oils, or again enzymes or chelating agents, to start pulling the stuff out and causing a removal of these things, you're going to constantly be fighting with this.
Can you, in a case like this lady, who I know, and I'm not sure how how much Mom will do as far as detox. Is it possible to do a little bit without having real detox reactions, or do you have to have? Do you know what I'm saying? Could you do
Yeah.
could you do a little bit of sodium thiosulfate, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and
I think
work out it slowly?
You're going to get a reaction no matter what you do. It's just the way it is. That's just the nature of the poison's causes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's poisoning within the system. As it's coming out, it's going to leave a issue as well. So,
but if she knows it's helping her,
easy.
I guess it's not terrible, right? If she believes,
No.
Yeah.
The easiest thing, I mean, she may feel a little discomfort, a little nauseous or whatever initially. But once the stuff starts depleting and diminishing, she's going to feel a whole lot better. Now, the easiest and the cheapest detox is, like I said earlier, get a little Epsom salt, a teaspoon of Epsom salt, and either 17 to 20 ounces of water, and add a teaspoon of borax with it. Mix it up, dissolve it, and have her drink that throughout the day. Not all at once, because like you said,
just sip on it, right?
Sip on it all day long, and that will in itself. Then, as she goes to the washroom, she may see metal particulates come out of her body. It may come out in her urine. It may come out in her feces. She may see it. She may see it floating in the toilet bowl, and then don't be alarmed. This is what's causing the issue, and it's finally coming out. So again, that's the mildest.
That's what you would start with. That's what you would start with.
And then change the diet, obviously. No
just
bread.
The cleanest food you can, right?
Yeah, no bread. Actually, one of the best things to use is whey.
Oh, the whey protein, yeah.
Whey protein, or make your own homemade whey. We were talking about ricotta earlier.
Yeah.
Taking milk, 2 liters of milk. What I do with how I make mine is I'll actually add enzymes with mine. I find that actually gives it an awesome taste when you add enzymes and a teaspoon of borax in with it.
Wow.
And you mix. Oh, Patrick, you got to try this. This thing is amazing.
So let's get into that a second. So yeah, if, you could do the One World Way. It increases your glutathione massively. But if you want to play around with something, so what you're doing is you're taking how much, and you're using sheep's milk though, sheep milk, right?
No, any milk, milk you want.
And what do you do?
In this case, okay, if you can't get access to unpasteurized milk, go to the grocery store, get the 3.2% homogenized. And you can debate the debates with it later. Anyway, put that in 2 quarts in a container.
2 quarts. All right.
2 quarts, and then add a teaspoon. What I do is I take the teaspoon of powdered enzymes, I mix it in there, and a teaspoon of borax. While it's cooking, mix it together. Okay, and you'll start seeing the proteins separate, which is really neat. And then once you bring it to a boil, let it boil for maybe 1 minute. Shut it off. That's it. Let it cool. And then get yourself I forget what they're called. They're like a strainer. They're a screen mesh bowl kind of thing.
Sure.
Put a handkerchief inside there, and then pour your stuff in there. And what you're going to get is a separation of the curd and the whey.
Yeah.
And the whey is anybody can use it. Even someone who's lactose intolerant can use this.
Sure.
Because it doesn't have the lactic acid in it. So what happens is you got that curd, which has got a super high level of protein to it, 28 grams per 100 grams. In other words, 1 ounce of that, 1 ounce of the 3 ounce volume is pure protein. So if you had 3 ounces of ricotta cheese, you'd be getting this ricotta, especially, you're going to get 28 grams of protein. So you're going to get that in there. And then the whey, you put that in a glass jar, let it chill, and then drink that all day long. That is one of the best fortifiers. When you drink that, you will actually feel your insides get solid again.
Yeah,
and that whey regulates the insulin as well.
So you were saying before you were making this ricotta using sheep's milk.
That was another
that'd
thing.
Be fun.
If you can get it.
Yeah, it's hard to find sheep's milk, isn't it?
You can, but that'll give you a higher yield of protein per 100 grams. So that's pretty good. But either one is good. If you can get and like I said, if you can get unpasteurized milk from the farm, that'll be even better. Because then the fat content is there. And you may in the homogenized milk, if you do buy it, you may have to add a cream to it while you're making it, because you may need the extra fat for it to bind better. But yeah, it's really good. It tastes really good. I tried it with the vinegar and I tried it with the lemon juice. I found that the cheese came out a little bit too acidic, but when you add the enzymes to it, is it?
So you're just using like an enzyme, Tony, that they have at the hippie food store with a lot of the different protease,
Yeah.
amylase, and all that kind of stuff in there,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Try to find one without silicon dioxide.
Yeah.
Trying to emphasize that.
Yeah, my grandma, that you mentioned it, that's how she did it. She would just, I used to watch her, she would just, I think she'd heat it up or something, then she'd put just lemon juice and separate the
Yep.
curds in the whey, and she'd make her own ricotta. But you like to, with the enzymes in there, it even makes it better.
Oh, it's such a mild,
Really?
full flavor. Oh, the enzymes make a difference. Well, another way they used to do is they used to use rennet, which is basically the
sure.
intestines from the stomach lining of the sheep. And I can see why when you add lemon juice or vinegar, the cheese has a little bit of a bite to it, like a little acidic.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
If you don't like the acidic taste to it, then just use the end and talk about mellow. Oh, it's never good.
Really?
And then you can add yogurt. And I mix mine up with yogurt. I'll even pour a little of that in my with my raw milk in the morning, around pasteurized milk with my culture, and I'll add and blend it together, which gives me more protein in it. And it's you can do a lot with it. You can even make a dip with it. That is the food you should be giving your kids in the morning, stuff like that with eggs or a yogurt. That's what you should be feeding the children in the morning, not cereal.
Yeah. A little bit of that, a lot of that protein and some eggs. Wow, get them going, right?
Yeah, and then if you give them a little, now for those who say they're lactose intolerant, you can drink that whey, because if you look at the research on it, the whey does not affect people with lactose intolerances, because again, the milk sugars are not there. It's just basically the whey product, the leftover.
Right.
That's what they make the whey protein powders out of. So again, this is something that even people with that condition can use and drink, and you'll see it has a very powerful fortifying effect on the system.
Excellent. Tony Pantellersco, this is Patrick Timpone, One Radio Network. This is one of my favorite things ever, Tony. People send me pictures of things that come out of their butt. And so they want me to forward this to you. So you're going to be on the list here. This guy sends this picture. You should see this stuff. It's like weird. So I'm going to send it to you, Tony. You get to look at it. It's because I had to look at it. Tony Pantelleresco, and this is OneRadioNetwork.com. Please, folks, don't send me stuff that come, well, it's okay. They just do. I don't know. They have from the beginning, and it's like a kid say, "Mom, look what we have here." It's hilarious, isn't it? Wow. It's just hilarious. We mentioned that these seed oils, if you'd like to try some of these, man, I am just really having fun. I've been playing with the black cumin seed oil, the black sesame seed oil from Andreas, and boy, my tummy likes it a lot. It just likes it a lot. I suspect that over the years, I did a little bit of damage into my stomach. So when I was having the heartburn stuff, and still do every now and then, it's just the acid or kind of a what do you call it? Kind of an ulcerative kind of thing, where I don't think it never was a full-blown ulcer, but it was, just with all the HCl I took, boy, it just really hurt my tummy. And this black cumin seed oil, along with my herbs from India, have really been helping. Amazing. This black cumin seed oil, black sesame seed oil, these are like either zero. The cumin had zero oxidation. They had it tested. Could you imagine that? An oil with zero oxidation? When's the last time have you ever seen that? And this is because he presses these oils with under 100 degrees, as little bit of friction as he possibly can. He's a German fellow, and you know how they get. They get real persnickety about this. He's actually figured out how to squash these seeds, whether it be pumpkin, sunflower, sesame, hemp, cumin, coriander, pumpkin. What are the other ones? Pumpkins. There's a couple other ones. I think that's about it. Without letting the seeds go into the oil. So these are the cleanest tasting, most beautiful flax that you've ever tasted. Just as smooth, and there's no seeds in there. There's no oxidation. They did the flax, and it was 0.0003 oxidation. Can you imagine? And that's the problem with most oils out there. Even the one at the hippie food stores in the refrigerator, I don't think they're good to take. And then, of course, cod liver oil and all that stuff. Fish oils, we never recommended those. But these are some really cool products. Andreas seed oils from the One World Way people. You can see the ad right on the front page of One Radio Network. Previously with Stephen Huer, and why the uniqueness of One World Way delivers exceptional benefits.
A non-denatured, truly pure, truly raw whey protein will only help to raise glutathione. And when you raise glutathione, you have to remember every cell of the body, your pancreas, your liver, brain, all are dependent upon 10% of the protein content in every cell being glutathione, and makes that cell detoxify itself of heavy metals, chemicals, and whatever drugs. And then that makes the cell healthy. And one of the reasons that you have chronic disease is because the cells of the different organs and bodies are producing too little glutathione. They're succumbing to the free radicals. They're succumbing to the toxins, damaging the function of that organ. And that's one of the reasons why One World Way is so profoundly therapeutically powerful, because every cell and every organ depends upon high levels of glutathione. And this is the number one food to fuel it over long periods of time is glutathione production.
One World Way offers 4 very, very good tasting flavors: chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and unsweetened, unflavored. Click and order One World Way right now on OneRadioNetwork.com. Previously with research scientist at MIT, Stephanie Seneff, PhD, and the curious connections between these glyphosates, Roundup, GMOs, and sulfur.
So if you simply put the glyphosate in place of the glycine in the sulfotransferase, you will not be able to get the sulfate from the cholesterol sulfate to some other molecule, such as the heparin sulfate. The cell won't be able to defend itself with sulfate if it can't put the sulfate there. But it's really, really important to be able to do that because, for example, cholesterol sulfate, it delivers sulfate to the cells, but in order to deliver it, you've got to take the sulfate off of the cholesterol and put it on something else. And that's where the sulfotransferase would come in and wouldn't be able to do that.
I know, it gets a little geeky, but the point is that without the proper amount of sulfur in the body, and now it's being disrupted because of the GMOs, even more than what it was already doing, it's not good. So we think that this sulfur product that we've been promoting is really helping people to keep everything kind of working well, because this whole sulfur cycle is kind of God's way of keeping the bad guys out and exiting the body. And because our sulfur is absolutely pure with no additives, it's different from almost all the other ones out there. You can click and order 3 prices right on our website, OneRadioNetwork.com.
With prevalent economic uncertainty in the United States economy, many investors are looking for safe havens to protect their wealth. One of the best historic investments in the United States has been the acquisition of physical American gold and silver coins. From the 1790s to the 1930s, the United States government issued American money in the form of gold and silver coins available to the general public. You can reach us at SDL Numismatics at 1-800-878-2646. We'll be happy to educate investors on how to acquire American gold and silver coins. Call us today, 1-800-878-2646.
Okay, stock market is still Rocky Mountain high. It's 21,222. Everybody just keep buying stocks. I tell you what, be careful. Gold is up 70 cents. Silver's up a quarter. Crude oil is up and the dollar is down. Andy Goss says we are in store. And Andy, as you probably know, is not one of those who runs around with his hair on fire saying the dollar is going to crash and the world's going to come to an end. I've known him for 25 years. He's never been in that category. There's a lot of people out there selling gold, and they're going to tell you, Andy sells gold coins for a living. They're going to tell you that the world's coming to an end, you're all going to die and whatever. And that's why they sell you gold. You hear the ads on the radio. Can only imagine what goes on late night TV. But Andy's never been one of those kind of guys. He's never. He just doesn't do that. And he's never been a guy that say things are going to get really bad very often. The only last time he said it was in 2008. He said it in the spring of 2008, and you know what happened in the fall of 2008 in this country, it's around the world, the massive, they call it the Great Recession, and he's saying it's on the way, coming again, either this fall, probably, or the beginning of next year. They're going to do it again. So tune into this show on Wednesday, try to figure out what's going on, and somehow to protect yourself from what we think is going to be some really weird stuff going on real soon.
From the Hill Country in
Here's your host, Patrick t0ny.
Colorado was one of the recreational wacky tobacco, and so more and more states around the country here, Tony, are getting on the medical marijuana thing. I think there's 26 maybe or 30 states now where it's legal, and then the CBD oil is legal now every 50 state in this country, as long as it's I think it's 0.003 THC. What's the situation with medical marijuana up in Canada?
We've already had that for quite some time.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Oh yeah. Now the drugstores are now going to start carrying it. Before you have to get some kind of licensing to get it. I mean, I can go and get a license right now and buy it, and do whatever I want with it because you're allowed so much each month. I mean, we've been using that even for people with cancers, and it's been successful. But the thing is, it's got to have the THC in it in order for it to work. CBD isn't enough. If they're telling you that, well, I'm not sure what they're seeing, but what we're seeing is the THC content has to be there. We've got friends of mine who make their own oil as well, and they apply it topically for back issues and whatnot. And they say within moments they have complete relief and functionality with it. So it's been a all-around herb that has done a lot of things all the way around. They have, again, another one of those things that they have demonized as, it's evil and you're going to die and you're going to be all hooked on drugs and all this stupid crap like that. And they've kept that from the general population, and it has a lot of therapeutic and recovering effects if you use it properly. I mean,
sure.
But like I said, as far as that goes,
I think
Canada
was
going
to. Yeah, you guys were. I didn't realize that you guys were that far ahead as far as the medical stuff. That was you went even before California did years ago.
I don't know when California. I know that it's been out west for a long time.
Yeah, 10 years. I think.
West, You're no, even longer than that. Out west, you were able. I don't know about U.S. I know here you were able to, for instance, in one province you could grow 3 plants for your own personal use. Another one you could grow 1 plant for your own personal use. And that's also changing and transitioning as well across the way. So like I said, things are going to change with that. I've actually thought about investing in companies that are producing it, because I think that's going to be a big.
I think it will be. I think it will. Now I believe there are some good uses and some benefits with a well-done high CBD oil, but I think my research also conjectures what you say go along, that the real mother lode of some of the stuff for cancer and all that requires the THC, I believe.
Yeah, even Simpson's formula, when he cooked it down, I make mine the same way he does.
Oh, do you?
Basically, I do it a little bit differently. He just used to soak it in alcohol. I blend mine in the alcohol, and I filter it, and then I cook what's filtered. There's more than one way of doing it. Other people throw the whole plant in, and they cook it in the oil and extract it that way. So there's lots of ways of doing it. But anyway, I do it that way, and then I cook it down, and then when I get it to the very bottom of the crock pot, I'll add the coconut oil to it, and then you got to turn it off, and then you got to mix it like crazy. And when you mix it, it's sort of like a sponge. As you stir it up, it actually pulls out more of the components of the marijuana. So by the time you get done, you got a nice super green oil.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you pour that out, then you've got the resin, which I save for a rainy day.
Yeah. Now, what is the difference, do you know, of making the Simpson kind and the kind you do, which is kind of a process, and you got to go through some things, with just taking the wacky tobacco and smoking it or putting it in cookies or something? Is there a lot more benefits to people health-wise that are using when you make the oil, Tony?
It's a lot more. The components are a lot more concentrated. You can eat it and get benefit. There's one gal online. She had a condition, and when she started eating it and juicing it, all of a sudden her condition went away.
I've seen her, but now she's just doing the raw, just the leaves.
Right.
Yeah. I saw that lady. Yeah.
Okay, when you light it up, according to one doctor there, when you light it up, the molecule actually changes.
Right.
So instead of working one way to heal the body, it acts as a euphoric chemical. The other way, when you're cooking it or processing it, you're getting the actual chemicals that again you're looking. It's how you make it to get what you want out of it, right? So that's what I do. I basically use the oil, cook it down, and then like I said, extract the resin in the oil itself, so you get a little bit more out of it. I've tried it myself. I mean, when I've used it, I've taken it, and I don't feel the effect because I use it for sometimes sleep. And when I've done it, very little of it, probably maybe a fifth of a teaspoon. And when I woke up, I was inebriated. So I realized that this is one of those things you take before bed. You've got to let yourself wake up with it on your own. You can't set an alarm with it. It's just sort of like melatonin. Melatonin does the same thing with me. If I take that, I cannot wake up to an alarm. If I do, I'm staggering around for 5 or 6 hours afterwards. So it has to kind of process.
That's interesting. I've taken melatonin and haven't felt a thing. I wonder I wonder why that is. Yeah.
I've had different reactions.
What do you suppose that is? Yeah.
I've had different reactions. I've taken it. I slept 45 minutes. I wake up out of a sound sleep, and I can't go back to bed. I've taken it. Oh, yeah, that's happened. I've taken it where I slept the whole day and whole night and half the day away. It's like it has a different effect. I don't know, and I can't explain it. Maybe it's just I've never really looked into it. Could be a serotonin imbalance. Could be a 5-HT imbalance in the brain that this may be causing.
Sure.
I don't use these things hardly at all. For that reason, I like to maintain a certain sobriety, so that when I'm dealing with people, I'm not in some far out universal planet in some distant land.
You're in your body. Yeah, I understand.
I'm in my body. I'm in my presence of mind. So I mean, on a weekend I may use it. Let's say from Saturday to Sunday, because that's usually the only day of the week where I can really sleep in. After that, during the week, never. Won't even go near it.
Mel writes in, Mr. Tony, some time ago you mentioned on Patrick's show about garlic soup as a source of a liposomal glutathione. Can you give us the recipe, how to prepare it, the amount of garlic, water, how long to cook it, and all that? I really appreciate your being on the show once a month with Patrick. Well, so do we. All right, do we know garlic soup, what he's talking about?
Yeah, it's not a liposome. Basically, just cut up some garlic, chop it up, put it in some water, boil it, you made soup.
Yeah.
That's it. Boil it for a couple of minutes.
That's all you got to do.
And extract it.
That's all.
Yeah.
So it's not a liposome.
No, not a liposome.
And what is that? What's some of the things that garlic will do?
Again, it's super boosted glutathione.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember, you got two types of cysteine in there. Cysteine, when you take a cysteine, it immediately goes from cysteine to glutathione. These glutathione supplements have to be reconstituted and rebroken down before they go back to being glutathione. So they're not really the best way to take it. So the NAC or any form of cysteine goes directly from that amino to another one to glutathione immediately in the conversion. So it's a more direct route. And again, you can take selenium with it. You can take alpha-lipoic acid with it, again, to expedite this as well. So, yeah, just a simple soup. That's it. Just cut it up, chop up your garlic, boil it up for as long as you want, 5 minutes or whatever. Let it simmer, let it cool, and then use. You'll taste the sulfur.
Oh, yeah. Here's an email from Valine. Good morning, Patrick and Tony. I have some urinary tract infection karma going on. That's great. Our listeners are so on it. Urinary tract infection karma, about 5 days now. Seems everyone believes that I need antibiotics, but I'm not going to do that. So I've been drinking a little teaspoon of baking soda and water for the last couple of days. Seems to help with the burning. Also been taking a teaspoon of colloidal silver, 5,000 vitamin C, cranactin, I guess that's a cranberry thing. Any other suggestions?
Usually for that, the only thing I give people is thyme and bay leaf as a tea. That seems to clear it up really quick. Again, what are you eating? That I used to give that to all the women here that would have the urinary tract. Within a day, it would be gone. Again, the cranactin, I've never really seen it do a whole lot. If you're making your own cranberry juice and you're extracting it, that's one thing. But buying a lot of these supplements, I found that, again, they'll have either silicon dioxide, titanium dioxide, or some sort of soy or chelate material, not good. A microcrystalline cellulose, which actually block the effect of these things. So you may not be getting, you may be paying a lot of money for nothing.
Yeah.
So when you're using these things, again, your diet, no bread, no pasta, no rice, no corn, no cereal, no soy-based products, no omega-3s like flax oil or fish oils. Flax oil, most men shouldn't be using it anyway because it's extremely estrogenic. Fish oils are all contaminated. There's not one that has been tested globally, and I'm not talking just U.S. or Canada, globally. They have tested these things. Yeah, they are not finding any of them are fit for human consumption. Matter of fact, they're not even fit for pigs. So this is what's being sold. So again, be aware of that. You have to change the diet. No sugar, nothing with grain as far as the carbohydrate is concerned. Do not eat the pseudo grains, which I call them pseudo grains, like your buckwheat, millet, quinoas. Leave them alone as well.
Pseudo grains. Let's see. Could you ask Tony what his thoughts are regarding lectins? Oh, I already asked him. So you're not up on lectins.
Well, it's a protein, another protein that
they say it's an undigestible protein in the grains that people can't. That's what they claim, right? Probably,
because
probably right.
Because he is. That is an aspect of it too. Because when they genetically engineered these grains, they tell you that wheat has never been touched. That's horse hockey. They've modified wheat 300 times. So that protein in that wheat. Okay, one of the things I saw was the proline and glutamate levels of the proteins in the current wheat today has been completely altered and imbalanced. So when you eat these things, this is one of the reasons why you have the reaction you have. But like I said, I've taken this research further and seen that it's not just that part of it. That part of it is a contributor. It's the other components that they've added to it in the spraying and in the storing and everything else that goes on with it. So a lot of these grains today are not what you think they are. And, a lot of these gurus are promoting a macrobiotic or a grain type diet saying, the grain has all these benefits. It used to. It used to. So when you're eating these things, it's going to cause a reaction because your body is not meant for you to consume.
Here's an email. I know that Patrick is going to be doing a show on aluminum this week, but want to know what Tony thinks is the best way to get aluminum out of the body, and also what are some ways that a person can do to recover from mycoplasma infection.
Wow, that's okay.
So what's your favorite aluminum?
Epsom salt's the simplest way. Any calcium you take will also displace it. Iodine will displace it. Sulfur will chelate it. EDTA will chelate. You got lots of pectin will pull it out. You got lots of ways to get rid of this stuff.
A lot of ways.
As far as your mycoplasmic, again, where's your copper? Where's your zinc? Where's your iodine? Where's your manganese? Where are these elements in your diet if they're there? That would reduce this dramatically. Where's your vitamin C levels at? How high are they? What is causing the infection? These are all factors you got to look at.
Does Tony know of a way to use sulfur topically to heal scars?
Yeah, just make a simple little poultice out of it and just apply it. As far as scars go, though, you may want to use aspirin instead. Combine a little aspirin with DMSO, which is a form of sulfur.
Wow.
And just put it, make a what do you call it there? A paste, and apply it on.
Really?
Yep.
What are some other ways that you use DMSO, Tony Pantelleresco?
I'll put it in my bucket when I'm doing my bucket to remove the nano out of my body. I'll put a little bit in there for again better penetration. I've been adding again borax in there as well. Of late, experimenting with that again to extract more radiation out of the body because that's what borax does. I may sometimes mix it with other things, maybe essential oils or whatever, or I'll mix it with in tea or whatever, and then I'm adding other things to it because I want the DMSO to carry whatever in my system either faster or to penetrate more effectively in the tissues or in the cells. So, I mean, I've applied it topically. I've taken it orally. I'm still here. Now, if you are taking it orally, let me emphasize this because this has to be emphasized.
Yeah.
Okay, first and foremost, you cannot take any medications with this because it'll also amplify that. Secondly, you have to dilute it down to a 1 to 5% solution because it will get into the brain and can cause the the fat to just break down in the brain, so it has to be diluted. You can't just put a cap of something in there and drink it. You have to dilute it. And again, to make a dilution, you would take a 10 to 100 ratio of whatever. So in other words, you would say take 2 teaspoons of DMSO to 3 to 4 ounces of water, dilute it so that it's reduced down dramatically. So when you take it, you're only using like teaspoon amounts of this. You're not taking the whole jar. Okay, because again, it's in a dilute state. It's not going to cause any problems or any issues with the brain. So you have to dilute it. You can't take this full strength. Do not apply DMSO 99% or 70% above the chest. Okay, because when you put it above the chest, it's going to go directly into the brain and again can cause problems. So it has to be done at the lower level.
So you're talking, did you say 5%?
1 to 5% dilution for oral.
For oral.
You're taking it orally.
So,
yeah, but
so in other words, if you had 1 teaspoon, then you need 100 teaspoons of water?
You need.
Is that what you're saying? That'd be 1%, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. 1% solution, which would be pretty safe to take orally.
No.
If you're applying it topically, you got to remember it'll penetrate every cell in your body in
not good.
20 seconds.
So keep it below the chest. Keep it below the neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about
below the neck?
What is actually DMSO doing internally? I'm curious. What is it? What goes on?
It cleans the cells. It produces an antioxidant effect. It can deliver. They've used this stuff for tons of things, from killing cancers to removing toxins. Again, used as a delivery method to deliver either supplements or medicaments because of the way it penetrates. Right, it's a very powerful penetrant. There's a book out on it, and it's about a 3/4 of an inch thick, and all the things that they've used it for. I don't use it that often these days because again, I do other things. I use essential oils or other things, but I mean, I don't always do everything that I've read. I'll do it certain times for certain things. But again, this is not something I take on a regular basis either, because again, it's a very powerful healant and a very powerful tool to be using. So it's not something you want to abuse.
I like to use it in my sauna if I put castor oil over my tummy or colon. With a little bit of DMSO on there to help it kind of soak in there with the heat. Pretty fun. It's kind of fun. Hello, Patrick. This is Ivan. I would like to ask Mr. Pantelleresco a question. Can Tony please give us some suggestions as to what foods and supplements I can take to restore the fat in my facial cheeks? Oh, okay. Facial cheek fat. That's a good question. How do you do that? Do you know, Tony?
Well, whatever you're going to do, it's not just going to go there. It's going to go throughout the whole body. It's not like you can take your face off and dip it in something and put it back on. You know.
All right. So what are the best things for?
I mean, I'd have to know what she's doing as well as diet is concerned too. Like, I mean, are you a vegan or vegetarian? Are you?
Well, what are some things would you add though, regardless of what they're eating, to get a little more fat?
A simple fat,
whatever,
just a simple little fat. Yeah, cream, fat, whatever. But again, I need to know some facts there. Like, are you exposed to something that's causing your body to react the way it is? Right. But again, when people tell me this, well, I want to put muscle here and I want to put this here. Well, unless your body can come unglued, you can go to Walmart and get a new body part, put it back in. It doesn't work that way. It's systemic. In other words, whatever you do to one part is going to affect the whole body.
Yeah. So Tony says, can you please give us suggestions how to remove liver or called age spots from the skin?
Okay, a lot of that age spot from the skin is not necessarily a liver spot. A lot of times it's a sugar protein oxidation that's going on. So you may want to start using things that, again, like B1, MSM in combination because they are anti-glycating. You can also apply low MSM on those spots to see if that'll disperse it. You can also apply vitamin C on the spot to see if that'll disperse it. But something like a lot is what they call glycated proteins. That's actually causing this. So the aged liver spots. I mean, a simple little, again, the garlic soup that we mentioned earlier can help clean the liver. The Epsom salt can help clean the liver. So, I mean, these are things that you might want to be looking at. And again, look at your diet. Again, a lot of these things are all based on diet. If your body is consuming a lot of sugar, you're going to have problems.
So you've never, or have you ever experienced anything topically for these little spots that have worked in your work?
I've used essential oils, and they seem to pull them out. I've used just a simple vitamin C.
Really?
Even DMSO will break them up. Sure. I mean, again, it's just damaged cells. That's all they are.
That's all they.
What you may find on some of them that are protruding, like they're all starting to protrude.
Yeah.
You've got actually nanoparticles built up in that area, and when you release it, you may find metallic material coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you may see.
Yeah, Nadine says that frankincense is a nice one for the face. It helps, so maybe you could put that on the face, frankincense oil.
It's an essential oil, so yeah, it'll break it up.
But essential oils are okay on the brain like that, Tony?
Again, in dilution.
Yeah, dilution. You don't want to do them straight?
Not, again, they're penetrant, right? So certain ones, like your citrus, can make you more photosensitive. So again, these are some things you might want to take at night before going to bed because you're not going to be exposed to any heavy light. Some of them, like I said, are very powerful, and they can get into like your spruce, your pine, balsam fir. These are different forms of turpentine. They get, but the difference is where they're extracting it from. One they're getting from the spruce tree, one they're getting from the pine, one they're getting from the balsam fir, but they're all essentially turpentine. Yeah. So again, this is not something you want to just put directly on the face. You may want to put a carrier oil like peanut oil or castor oil like you were using, and then apply it that way. Then it slowly releases it into the system, and then there's no issue.
Good idea. Good morning, gents. I would like to hear Tony's perspective overall with homeopathic medicines. From Briddy, she says, peace, love, and hippie beads. Okay. I don't know. That's kind of a broad question. I guess there's good
They work.
Yeah, they work.
They work. I mean, you got to find somebody who really knows what they're doing. Yes. There are some products that are mixing. There was one product I saw when I was down in Arizona. They had everything but the kitchen sink inside these things. They had all these homeopathics with all these supplements, all these minerals. That is not going to work. That is basically a waste of money. You get a real homeopathic remedy, and you apply it the way they're telling you, or you find a homeopath that knows what they're doing and how to use these things, and you will see some profound effects with them. They work. I mean, simple as that. They do work. They work in a different method. They don't work as basically an antagonist-protagonist method like herbs do. These work in the sense that whatever you're exposed to, they've taken the same thing and have reduced this down on an energetic level so that when you consume these things, they can activate your body's immune system or defense mechanisms more efficiently.
Gotcha. Here's an email from John. Does Tony have any ideas about alleviating canker sores? A friend is getting canker sores on a very regular basis and wanted to understand the cause of them and the ways of alleviating the condition.
Canker sores are basically a herpes 1 condition, and that's usually caused as a result of a lysine-arginine imbalance. They're eating lots of nuts, seeds, or beans, so that's the main proponent of their diet. They're causing an imbalance in the lysine-arginine levels. So they have to change the diet, get rid of these things out of the diet for a while, start using 500 milligrams of lysine 5-6 times a day until it clears up, and maintain lysine in the system, at least 500 milligrams a day. And again, be aware that any foods that have a high arginine content, if you're using a lot of arginine in your diet, you're going to have these issues.
David writes in for Tony on June 12th. Can oil of turpentine be used to get rid of intestinal tetanus? Tetanus? What should be the carrier? Cod liver oil, sugar cubes, or olive oil? I don't know.
I would use the oils over the sugar cube.
What is that? Tetanus, intestinal tetanus.
I think he's talking about t0ny, which is again a type of microbe or parasites or whatever. Some of these things you're going to have to literally try and test yourself.
Sure.
Because there's no way really saying it's going to or not going to work. It should. The term here is it should. And again, it should have a positive effect in removing these things. But like I said, whether or not they're actually going to work, the only really way you're going to know for sure is if you try it out. And this is where, again, research and development come in. This is where, again, even when you're doing research and development, the only real way to know for sure is when you actually apply it. And you're going to see a lot of conflicting things in research. One thing will say this works really good, and the next thing will say it doesn't do anything. So then the only really real way you're going to know if it's going to work for you is by actually applying it, and applying it based on how you read your research and studies. Sometimes you have to combine things in order for things to work. Sometimes you have to eliminate things out of your system that's causing the problem. And sometimes you have to reinforce your body with nutrients like minerals, like selenium, for instance, selenium, iodine, copper, zinc, these things have to be put back in. If you're not putting them back in the system after they've been pulled out, then a lot of times a lot of things aren't going to work because these main players aren't there. So before you start taking turpentine or you start doing this, start doing that, do an evaluation of what you're eating. And then look at what you're eating. If you're eating a lot of grains and breads and pastas, rice, corn, cereals, soy, whatever, these things you have to evaluate. What are you really eating? There is no such thing as organic in the sense that we are been told what organic is. The majority of your organics are all contaminated. After looking at that, like I said, the silicon dioxide, nanosilica research, I was floored at how much they have inundated all the food supply with this. So, you have to reevaluate something else. If all the organics, and people are promoting all the organics, are, if it's really working like it should, why are so many vegans sick? Why are so many vegetarians sick? I get a lot of calls from vegetarians all the time that they've got all these health issues going on. Oh, I got to tell you this. I got to tell you. I had a woman contact me about 3 weeks ago from the United Kingdom. And she said to me, this is a quote, okay? She said to me, how come my friends who eat meat look better than I do? I've been a vegan for 30 years and I look worse than they do. And I wrote her back, I said, because they are putting back into their body what fortifies and supports their system. The whole vegan thing that you've been on for 30 years and what you've been misled to believe it's a stripping diet. That's all it does. It's what it was intended to do. I said, for a short interim, 3 months, maybe 6 months if you need to, you use it. But after that, you got to get off and you got to get real food back. And you got to get real protein, coming from animal sources, real fats. They come from animal sources. You need a balance of both. You can't just do one. So what she told me? She says, as of today, she said, these people should be sued that are telling us this stuff. That's what she said. Not kidding. And they says, as of today, I'm going to go back to eating meat and cheese and whatever.
That's after 30 years, she's back on meat. That's funny.
Well, because she's seeing the results.
Yeah, I mean, she looks at her friends, right? Yeah, she looks at her friends and says, well, this is not working for me. Now, I've seen some really cute vegans over the years, but I've also seen some vegans that look like that they really need to eat some food, so.
Well, over time, initially when a lot of them, the ones that you sometimes see look good,
could be.
They've only been on that diet for a certain period of time. Usually between 3 and 5 years, the law of diminishing returns finally hits, and it hits them hard. There was actually a picture that was going around online for a while. They're showing you a woman that was a vegan, and her hair was all straw. She was all dried out. She looked like a husk. And they showed you this other woman that was eating eggs and cheese and meat, and she looked voluptuous and like, now what would you rather have? That's how the theme of it went. And that's exactly what goes on. Huh. So, like I said, I understand what happened, again, because I always look back historically what happened, how that got initiated and how that philosophy got going, and how that was a misleading of a huge misleading in regard to what was healthy and what was considered healthy. Again, it was a what do we call that? A pictorial that they put into your head, to give you this image of this is what makes you healthy. But again, it's one of the most depleting diets that you can get on. So, when you're looking at things, and then today, like I said, with the nano, that these things are being exposed to, there's no way you can wash this off because it embeds. So these people are eating a higher concentration of this material, and it's causing them to break down even faster. So, and I'm getting this all the time in the email. Well, I've been a vegan, I've been this, I've been that, and I feel like, and I got this going on, and this is happening, and that's happening. So I said, okay, well now you've done your thing your way for this long, and you got all these health issues. You need to change. Obviously, it's not working, So,
Iris writes in, how does Tony recommend treating HPV? Never had any symptoms, but sometimes tests positive for it, sometimes does not. Well, what can I do about it? The gynecologist recommends ablation. Ablation? A-B-I-A-T-I-O-N. Doesn't sound like you want to do that, whatever it is.
I'm not
Human
sure that is.
papillomavirus. I guess that's what that is.
Again, copper, zinc, manganese, iodine, boron, selenium. Selenium. Remember selenium?
I remember selenium. Yeah. Overall, Tony, how did we get so? Is it just a nutritional thing over the years? Get so short on these guys you keep mentioning over and over: zinc, copper, sulfur. Is it
we've had them
just stripped out of the soils, huh?
We've had, well, not necessarily out of the soil. They may have been in the soil, but then they got stripped out or pushed out when they added all these other components to them, or they got neutralized. Okay, look, when they put some of the grains, for instance, in the silos, they're spraying sulfurofluoride inside these silos.
Oh, good.
Yeah, fluoride. So what's happening now with the fluoride? There goes your iodine.
Yeah.
There goes your magnesium. There goes your calcium. They started adding, again, nanosilica into the food supply starting at 1960. 1970s, they started adding a whole bunch of other nanoparticles into the food supply. Again, none of it was ever tested. Their reason for not testing it, and this is how ridiculous this was because it was ubiquitous in nature. In other words, it's everywhere found in nature, so it couldn't hurt you. Arsenic is ubiquitous in nature, and it can kill you. But they never tested it. They started spraying it on whatever grain, from barley to oat to flax, sorghum, all of it, right across the grain chain. And like I said, even the pseudo grains got sprayed with this stuff, all of it. And then in today's fields, they're using a nanosilver, even in the fields, to spray as an insecticide. And they're also using glyphosate, which also has a nano delivery component to it. So what's happening now is we've got food, lots of food. None of it majority of it not fit for consumption, because when you, instead of building the body and sustaining the functions of the body, the functions of the enzymes, the functions of the antioxidants, functions of the mitochondria, the DNA, the genetic code, it's actually breaking all that down. And then you wind up getting on a ideology or a philosophy that somebody's promoting in order to sell product, and you wind up becoming even more depleted. I've had people see me that have been doing a certain thing for a long period of time, and they look like crap.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I get them on just eating eggs and yogurt, something that simple, or lamb, they call me back within 3 days, and within a week they start looking like they've got life coming back into their core again. So, it's these ideologies, again, need to be reevaluated, because a lot of things that you were told has been nothing but what I call sabotage or a hijacking of your genetic code.
It's interesting, Tony. Ayurvedic medicine, which has been around for 5,000 years, they're not against eating meat in moderation at all. And you know what they use lamb for? Mostly for healing. People that are weak and sick, and they'll recommend a lamb stew. You cook it. You know what I mean? And give them lamb every night, every day, and it builds up. It builds up their chi, builds up their ability to heal. It's interesting. Lamb.
You know how you hear another philosophy, right? I call it philosophy. Another word for it is BS, but philosophy is how we're not supposed to be eating dairy. When you actually look at dairy, pound for pound, it is one of the most healing foods on the planet. It is the superfood next to egg. And when you see what you can extract out of just milk alone, colostrum, whey, the high concentration of proteins, minerals, B vitamins, and the list goes on, and even the fat.
Mm-hmm.
And how this has such a healing factor. There's only one group of people on the whole planet that doesn't use dairy, and that's your Far East Asians. But everybody else on the planet, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, Romania, the Baltic states, India, Africa, Africans live on it. Europeans use it. People in the Caribbean, South America, we use it here, and you get criticized for using it. You use it in Canada. You get criticized for using it. Only one culture in the world doesn't use it, and everybody else does, and is healthy and strong. So when you hear this stupidity of, we're the only people on the planet that, drink milk. Well, people eat meat as well. People eat eggs as well. People eat a variety of things. It's all food. Milk is a food. If it wasn't a food, they wouldn't feed the calves or the sheep or the kids. So it is a superfood. So don't let anybody, because I get people contacting me on this, and so I send them five different PDFs on the value. I mean, milk used to treat tuberculosis, for crying out loud.
I
Back
know
in
they did.
1939, that was the cure for it.
Have you ever got
So
into
when you're
the
looking
whole?
at this,
Have you ever got into the whole A1 and A2 cows?
no, the different fats and the different absorption rates. Yeah, and that's another. I mean, again, that's showing you. That is showing you again the value of milk.
Yeah.
You know.
Supposedly, and I don't know which one is which. I never remember. Maybe Lynn knows, and she'll email me. This doctor, cardiologist, was talking about it. That I think it's the A1s or the A2s, and one of them, the more traditional cows, the Guernsey, Jersey, kind of thing,
Right.
has a easier protein thing for people to absorb and more healthy. But I never did remember which one was the best. But the
Yeah,
old
I did
classic,
also,
classic kind of heritage cows, I guess.
Yeah, the fat and the Guernsey.
Is it the
cows.
Guernsey, the Jersey? Is that
Oh,
what it is?
that fat is amazing. Have you ever had butter from that? Made your own butter from that?
I've never known which cow I'm using when I buy this raw milk. I never asked the person what kind of cows they have. I don't know.
If you get a Jersey or Guernsey milk, and you whip that up and you get that cream out of it, right?
Yeah.
Bring it out, put it in the freezer for about a minute so it'll solidify, and then taste that. You will now know what real butter tastes like. It is so good going down. You have no idea.
Yeah.
I did that by accident when I was in Arizona. I was whipping up my unpasteurized milk with my formulation, and a phone rang, and I went to pick up the phone. I started yammering for 5 minutes, came back, and I had this film of cream on the top. I said, well, what do you know? So I scooped it, rang it out, threw it in the freezer for a minute so it maintains some structure, and then I ate it. I says, holy cow, is this ever? It doesn't taste nowhere near the butter you're buying at the store. Not even close.
Not even close. Tony, we have access to some raw milk, and we can get the cream on a limited supply because it's hard to get. They don't let you buy 20 bottles, like 2, but it's yellow. I mean, it is just grass-fed yellow, man. And it tastes like you put some of that on strawberries or something. Oh, forget about it. Oh, forget about it. It's like you're in heaven.
And all this stuff that they tell you about cholesterol and fat and all this stuff.
That's right, man.
A lot of horse hockey.
Yeah, I love it on blueberries or strawberries. It's amazing. This is Kevin in Alberta. Mom is having a problem, okay? Kevin's mom, persistent GERD issues. She can't take anything with spicy or sour, tomato, fruits, even vitamin C. Boom. She went to the doctor. He diagnosed her with H. pylori and was on an antibiotic treatment for a while. The H. pylori gone next time she checked, but the GERD was still there once in a while. She's on blood pressure medicine that helps. Do you have some ideas? Okay.
Get her on again chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll is really good for that, right?
Yep. Sodium. It's got a sodium copper content to it. The GERD again is a bacterial overflow or biofilm overflow. She's probably got a lot of nano in there. Make sure she doesn't eat any bread whatsoever. Doesn't drink any Ensure, any Boost, or any Equate products. Make sure she's not going near that because that'll exasperate this. Okay. And basically, if she can't consume yogurt and get her on a high-profile probiotic, this is going to take some time to clear up if she's that far gone. And again, the only two things I would tell you to do is either liquefy some cottage cheese or make your own, like we just explained earlier, ricotta, and use gelatin to repair this. This is a biofilm buildup, and you've got to knock that down before she'll start to even process anything properly. And again, copper will help with that. Zinc will help with that. Iodine will help with that. Boron will help with that. Selenium will help with this. And again, this is what we were talking about earlier. These elements, which are no longer in play, okay, are now, because they're not there, you're getting these secondary results from a primary infection because you removed the defense mechanisms. Any grain you consume, you're going to wind up with something like this along the way. Any soy you're consuming is going to definitely do this. It's going to basically further wipe out your digestive system. So again, these things have to be avoided. But I'd get her on a good chlorophyll. Make sure the chlorophyll doesn't have any goofy crap in it. It should all be in it. All it should be in it, I believe, is the citric acid to sustain it or to keep it sustained. But get her on that 5 teaspoons a day or more in water, tea, coffee, whatever you can get down in her. You can get a broth, gelatin broth into her. I would even mix it with the gelatin broth to start again repairing and removing.
Mm-hmm. Lynn writes in, the A2 is the preferable milk, a beta casein protein rather than a more common A1 protein in regular milk. A genetic test developed by the A2 Milk Company determines whether a cow produces A2 or A1. And I think the A2s are the Jerseys, high butter fat, right, lower maintenance, and also I think buffalo, some of these other kind of things. Let's see, A2, let's see if I have this right. Dairy milk usually contains a mixture of A1, A2, but milk from goats, sheep, camels, buffalo, yaks, donkeys are always A2. Oh, okay. So goats and sheep, maybe that's why the goat and sheep cheese and that are easier to digest, Tony, because they're A2s.
Plus the bacteria they're using to ferment it, they're using certain bacterial cultures, and so again, you're going to get that effect as well. That is the big thing that I'm been working with another fellow in New Jersey there on the bacteria, the cultural strains, and we've been experimenting, and he's been doing certain things, I've been doing certain things, and been comparing notes, and it's amazing. Again, the other big thing that's happened too, I forgot to mention this, we are missing 4 major acids in the digestive system.
4 acids we have our digestive system is just totally acid. How could we be missing?
Because again, what's been going on with our digestive system being compromised. Now, you need butyric acid, you need propionic acid, you need lactic acid, and you need acetic acid. Acetic acid is vinegar.
Okay.
So you get those acids back into the system, watch your belly fat and your system start to change and get effective. Those acids are key to eliminate any kind of cancer tumorous growth in the colon.
Really?
If you don't have enough of those, all this stuff about alkalinity, again, this is another sabotage. You have to have these acids in the system as well. There's about 25 or 30 acids I've been looking at, and each one of them are required by the body in order for the body to work. Your aminos are a amino acid. Why is it an amino acid rather than an amino alkaline?
Yeah.
Okay, because you need the acid to activate those proteins so that they can convert. Okay, without the acid in the body to trigger an enzyme reaction or an antioxidant reaction, you can't function. And so these acids are very, very key. If you look up butyric acid, just that one alone is mind-boggling what it does. You look up propionic acid. Again, this is another one that's extremely required for the digestive system. And again, this has been compromised, again, through glyphosates and through other soy and other crap that they've been feeding us and telling us this is good for you. If it doesn't, and you get a lot of butyric acid from butter.
Butter. We love butter. Well, Tony, I just went to the bank and borrowed $5,000 to buy an alkaline water machine. And you're going to tell me this? Just kidding. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I know, those were a big deal. I think they still are. I've known people spend $2,000-$3,000 to get a machine that makes their water, I think, like 9.5 pH or something like that.
All you got to do is add a little baking soda.
Oh, yeah, but don't tell folks that. You're going to spoil their day. God love them. I know. There's some weird stuff.
Well, like I said, this is the concepts and the philosophies that are being perpetrated out there. There is the thing, because everyone's worried about getting cancer, so you want to keep your alkaline levels above 8.
More alkaline, right.
Okay, now I'm also saying this, and you also need acid to kill cancer as well. If you don't have the right acids in your body, guess what? You can be alkaline all you want to, it isn't going to work. In fact, if you go into a higher level of alkalosis or alkalinity, you can get into a state of alkalosis, you can still get cancer. It just comes in from a different angle, from viruses and parasites, which are kept in check by acid. So again, you can go overboard because again, they promote that fear-mongering, oh, you're going to die of cancer. There's 99 zillion cancers and they can all kill you. You got to be X, Y, Z in the alkalinity level. And then they forget to mention a little fact there that if the acids are too low in the system, that you too can still get a cancer. So this is one of the things that butyric acid and propionic acid do specifically in that part of the world. And when you add it to I make a cultured milk. I get about 13 different strains that I buy and add to it. I add the propionic acid, I add the butyric acid, and I've added a little vinegar with it too, and I let it sit and ferment, and then I use that in my mixture when I take my unpasteurized milk mix that I take in the morning, just to sustain. Because I got into eating a lot of cream, and the last video I did, you could see I put on some weight. That's oh boy, I got back
just
off
by doing cream. Oh yeah, maybe I should do more of that.
Well,
really, just doing cream, you put on some weight.
Because again, I'm not active I'm not physically active like I used to be. So
yeah.
I'm more mental. So I use the cream. And again, if you get on using just cream, you're gonna find your appetite doesn't exist. You can go quite a long time without the need to eat, and and you're not being depleted. You're not feeling low or anything. And it's again, the fat is so key because of the acids it also has in it. And again, utilizing your proteins effectively and other things. So, when you get into the cream thing, a lot of you will you'll do what I did. You'll overload on it because
it tastes so good.
This is good going down.
Oh baby, oh my goodness, yeah, it tastes so good. So be careful. Tony's becoming a fatty. How are your cheeks? Maybe this fellow should do some cream that wanted fat cheeks.
Oh, I said use the fat. I mean, well. Again, I'm backed off the cream now because of that reason. But I mean, you get into it because after a while, like you buy a 35% cream or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, and you just chug that back without not thinking about the consequences.
Yeah. So
this is good going down.
So you got a little chubby, did you?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, Lynn says that fermenting A1 milk, according to research, which is supposedly the inferior milk, the A1, if you ferment into yogurt, it eliminates the problematic BCM beta casein morphine substance. So that makes sense. We do know, as you've said, that when you do ferment different milks and stuff, it changes the milk for the better, doesn't it, regardless of what milk?
Well, you're pre-digesting it in a way because you're breaking down those protein molecules so that you can actually absorb them, number one. So again, even if you're taking these, let's say you're taking it one world weight.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would be adding either a cultured strain or a yogurt with it, just so that when I'm consuming it, whey on its own will absorb very rapidly anyway. It's very high. It absorbs really, really high. I mean, the BB rating on whey, if it's just a whey isolate, it's around 92, which is pretty high. When they add the peptides to it, you're up to about 150 because of the peptides. That's what they promote. You can't go anything above 100, but the point that they're trying to make there is that you're absorbing just about all of it when you add a peptide to it. But if you ferment that or add it to a ferment, the effect is even more because it's breaking the proteins down even more effectively.
Oh, so what you're saying, so if folks are on a one world whey and they wanted to supercharge that, what would you recommend they do? Actually put it's like a yogurt in with it?
Yeah, or add a probiotic to it.
Or add a probiotic, okay. All right.
Or you can even take it one step further.
Mm-hmm.
Add a little HCl to it. You know how something see these proteins says whey protein hydrosolate? But that hydrosolate is a form of hydrochloric acid that they mixed in with that whey. So when you consume it, the digestive system breaks it down almost immediately. So this is another thing you can do, a very cheap, you can buy an inferior whey casein, okay, or a whey concentrate, which has got a higher casein content. You can ferment that for a day, or you can add, like I said, the hydrochloric acid to it. When you drink it, it breaks it down very rapidly, very, very effectively. If you add a probiotic to it, same thing. You'll find that you'll digest it far, far better and get better use of the aminos that way, too. So there's lots of ways you can trigger this.
Good. Tony, ask Tony, please, any ideas for ringing in the ears after years of noisy machinery and loud music?
Again, a lot of times I tell people do a search online called antennasearch.com.
Oh, we know that one. I love it. One of my favorite places.
Yeah. So then you can see how many antenna arrays are in your neck of the woods. And a lot of times the ringing of the ears has nothing to do with what you're thinking. Signals are being piped into your brain, directly into your brain. And that's where you're getting a lot of ringing. Now, if it is a true tinnitus, like they're saying, which I don't believe even exists, if it is a true tinnitus, then you might have to increase phosphorus in your diet in order to remove this. If you do increase the phosphorus in your diet and you're still getting the ringing of the ears, chances are it's the frequency that you're hearing.
Okay. I think this is the last one. Let me see. Yeah. Wow, we did good today. Okay, only 2.5 hours. Great show today, as always. I'm having strange tongue issues. That is making my tongue feel numb, and I seem to be losing this sense of taste. I'm doing all the good supplements you recommend, along with diet restrictions, no grains, and any ideas of why my little tongue is not happy?
Zinc and copper deficiency usually.
Sorry, that was a mistake. Sorry, didn't want
No worries.
to rim shot your tongue. I'm sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
Zinc and copper deficiency usually.
Zinc and copper deficiency can make the taste go away, the tongue get numb.
Yep. If you look up zinc and look up copper, they're key minerals, key elements that trigger the response mechanisms for your tongue to taste things. And again, maybe the food you're eating may have no taste either. Think of it that way. Majority of the food today doesn't have any
that'll
taste.
happen. That's right. Hey, I lost my taste. Well, because I'm eating Oreos, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I found, like I said, when I drink, when I eat things I get from the farm direct, like certain cheeses and stuff. I get a cheese from Finland.
Yeah.
And when you eat that cheese, oh my gosh, it melts in your mouth, and the flavors in it and the salt, how they've made it is really, really good, and the bacteria they use. So when you're looking at some of the things you're eating today, a lot of times they don't have any taste. I mean, have you ever actually ate a California strawberry? There is absolutely no flavor to it whatsoever.
Nothing going on.
So again, that has nothing to do with your tongue at that point. It's what you're eating in that regard. So yeah, you gotta kind of look at that too. But try zinc and copper. You can get a good chlorophyll supplement. You can again get a zinc supplement. Start using and see what happens.
I spent like $5 to bought a container of these orgasmic strawberries, a couple weeks ago from the HEB here, and I tell you what, I was really disappointed. Nothing going on. I mean, it didn't even taste like strawberries. And we get the guy at the local farmers market, Tony, 180 degrees. 180 degrees. They taste like real strawberries.
Yeah.
Real strawberries, so people know how to grow them. And
strawberries should have a bite to it.
Oh, man.
It should have a sweet and a bite at the same time. There's nothing going on. You can barely taste the sugar, and you can barely taste any of the acid from the strawberry. And chances are what you got is a modified
who knows
operation.
I think a lot happens with the tomatoes too, even the organic ones, Tony. I think they ship them in green and stuff, and you know what I'm saying? And they just don't taste like tomatoes. I don't know.
No.
They just don't taste like tomatoes. Well, kiddo, thanks for a great show. We appreciate all your work and all the time that you take with people around the world to keep you working 18 hours a day. So I'm glad you take care of yourself and getting chubby cheeks so you can work more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have to back that off.
That's right. We don't want you to get too chubby. All right, kiddo, thanks a lot for your work.
Thanks for having me.
All right, sir. Bye-bye. Tony Pantelleresco, just a guy, knows a lot of stuff. He's really he's got a lot of information, doesn't he? God love him. Okay, he's here the second Monday. Ken Rolla will be here the next Monday, which is a week from today. We got a good show for you tomorrow. Thanks to Lynn. Thanks to Sharon for everything. And we're out of here.
We are listener supported. One Radio Network.
From the Hill Country in Texas, broadcasting worldwide, this is One Radio Network.
George Altgeld tomorrow. George is pretty cool. We're going to do a 2-hour spring gardening special. It's spring, time to plant the garden. And George is probably, I don't know, I think he's probably the top guy in the world. This guy is like, man, he knows stuff that I don't even know where he gets all this stuff. So he'll be here tomorrow for 2 hours. Real world of money. Then another George on Thursday. Oh, this will be fun. Looking forward. George Swanson. He's probably one of the top men in the world. We get them all, baby. Of the biology guy, environmentally healthy building methods, how to make your home more biologically, environmentally friendly. And if you could do an addition or build a home someday, how to do it from scratch. And George knows a lot of stuff, and it's really cool. It's bowl biology, or bow biology is the name of the work. So he's going to be here on Thursday. So we got kind of a greeny kind of a show with organic gardening tomorrow and bowl biology. And today, let's see, I don't even know what we call this guy. If we call him a green guy. Well, he does eat a lot of greens, but he also eats a lot of chicken. And well, Tony, I don't know how we classify you. Just as a guy who knows a lot of stuff about health, and he is on the show on the second Monday of the month. And you know what, Tony? You were right. It's today. You picked the right day. It's good. I'm glad that you got it.
And I'm on time.
And you were on time, too. I mean, oh my goodness. Do you guys change the clocks like we do?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we're in North America, so, I mean, it's the same. The only place I think that doesn't...
You're in Canada. You're in Canada.
Yeah, but the time zone is the same.
I know. I'm just kidding.
The only place that doesn't change time is Arizona.
Really? That's the only place?
Yeah, they stay the same all the time. I live down there, and they never change the time. And, well, you really don't need to because it's sunny usually all year round. So, right. Here they do it because of the seasonal changes. Initially, I think the reason behind it was for the farmers because they gave them an extra hour of daylight to harvest their crop or do whatever or plant their crop. So I think that was the initial thing here anyhow. But anyway, we changed our clock and everybody has to get adjusted now for the next week and this different hour change. So
yeah, but it's always fun to wake up and you say, wait a minute, it's still kind of dark. What's the deal here? What's the deal? It's usually when you get up by the sun, which I generally do. You just kind of. I was in bed and I said, you know what? It's 7:30 here. What's the deal? What kind of? Let's see. I always get in trouble when I ask you this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Since it is Monday morning and, it's March 13th. Because when I ask you what you've been up to, I mean, generally, I just never know. But I'm going to ask you because, so what are the things that have been on your plate since we've last talked that you spend most of your research on? Have you doing any new kind of research? Or are you still digging into the old?
The research has evolved. I've been looking at biofilm. I've been looking at quantum dots. Last night I was looking at a quantum dot research and regarding how quantum dots, get absorbed into the body because we're all eating them. What they've done is they sprayed quantum dots in any field so that these dots can send and transmit signals. They're a transmitter or transceiver, so that they can determine when to water the crop or when to harvest them or when to do whatever.
Oh, good.
But they're in everything we're eating, and so then the research on it. Because again, when you read the research on nanotechnology and quantum dots are nanos as well. They tried to sell the whole thing in regard to how it's going to benefit us on a health level. And nothing that they've ever developed in all of history since the 40s, the theme has always been it's going to help us become healthier. It's going to help us cure things. It's going to help us do things. But it never ever works out that way. In fact, it's always all these things are always militarized. One thing I did learn about nanotechnology that when nanoparticles get inside of you, there's an incubation period which I wasn't aware of until recently. And what happens is they sit in your fluids, or they sit in your cells, or they sit on the membranes of your cells, and then they expand. First they expand, and then they ignite. And I thought, isn't that interesting that there's that incubation period? Same with the quantum dots. They were looking at the research on how that it would affect us and what part of the cell it attaches to, and then the different pathways where it gets in. Some pathways it doesn't matter. It goes in and out, no problem. Other pathways it gets in, gets embedded, and then it starts to run with the flow. So I've been looking at that. I've been looking at biofilm and how biofilm works. The interesting thing about nanotechnology is that it's using our body to protect it. This is the irony behind it. Our bodies produce biofilm naturally as a means to defend against invaders. So let's say you're breathing something inside, through a pollutant or whatever. So what happens is the bacteria in your body will form a swarm. And what it does, it goes after whatever's trying to, break you down. And it forms a barrier around whatever is there. And then as it does this, the biofilm then puts on such a hard barrier, and the stuff incorporates it with it, that now your immune system can't do anything with it. So now it's embedded. Then it starts to,
but wait a minute, hold on a second. You said the body does the biofilm naturally. But,
yeah.
But that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's two sides of this. But like I said, because, your gut's loaded with bacteria.
Right.
So something gets in the gut, the bacteria swarms.
Oh.
The bacteria...
Losing you.
Puts a barrier around so it can't go anywhere, and then it gets discarded.
Gotcha.
But in this case, with the Nano, it takes that biofilm, it encases itself in it, and then it starts to assemble within the biofilm until it gets to a certain point, and then it breaks down the protein and sugar that the biofilm is made of and incorporates it into its assembling process, and then continues to form networks. This is
that's pretty clever. Yeah.
It's very, very clever. So it's
clever.
a very insidious way of delivering an infection or a affliction on somebody. And then you get once the assembly starts going, then the quantum dots, which are transceivers, will receive signals. So a lot of people who are what they call TI, targeted individuals, they will get these signals from these either chip implants, which these things do assemble inside you. I have pulled out of my body at least 8 or 9 chips just in the last 2 weeks, because I've been using a device that will basically shut down the program and then allows my system to discard these things. I have to squeeze these things out, and they hurt like blazes when they come out. But
is it an actual microchip?
Oh yeah, I got a picture of it.
Really? I'd love to see the picture. We had a fellow on the air last week that says he's got about 100 of these microchips in him. And
yeah, I don't doubt it, because the nanotechnology is, it's assembling these inside our bodies. This is
okay. So let's hold on, take a breath. I'm trying to understand this. So he was thinking, because he got Tony, he got kidnapped a couple times and woke up like a week later, and he didn't know where he was, and he thought that these were coming in from the outside. But
they can.
But you say that these microchips, they how do they do it?
Nanotechnology.
Yeah.
When you're talking nanoparticles, just think of it this way: one cell is a billionth of a meter.
Mm-hmm.
On that one cell, they can write 1 terabyte of data on each cell.
Right.
Okay. So it has a program sequence, and all it takes is
a terabyte is like, it's like huge, right, Tony? It's billions and billions of information. Go ahead. Terabyte.
Well, when you go to to equate it, when you go to like a Best Buy or an electronic shop, and you're buying a backup drive,
right?
And you see a 1 terabyte backup drive, that's how much information these nanoparticles can hold, the equivalent of one of those. So those $89 units that you buy at, let's say, Best Buy to plug into your computer so you can back up to your systems or whatever, that's how much information they can carry.
Yeah.
So when you're talking a network of nanoparticles, like I always have said, when your cells get a nanoparticle, it's not one part.
Oh, your Skype is a little.
I'm running, and then this program will assemble.
Your Skype, fading a little bit out on your Skype.
Really?
Yeah. So
I got nothing on. All I had on was you.
Okay, so that's all. Yeah, that's your bandwidth. So it's coming and going. So we'll just we'll do.
Yeah,
it.
how's that?
Yeah, it's fine for now. Okay, so you go ahead and continue.
Yeah, the nanoparticles then will assemble according to whatever program is involved. And just to give you a Cole's Notes version of it. When you take the particles inside, they form what they call a lattice. A lattice is basically the architectural design that the origami, which is another part of this, that's like your circuit board in a radio or an electronic device.
Uh-huh.
The lattice will form a architect, and then the origami fit on that. And then what happens is the particles then will assemble on this, and because nanoparticles can grow from the top down or bottom up, they will assemble these circuits within the system. And like I said, what happens is the coating of biofilm will go over this stuff, and again, while that happens and it seals it, it continually assembles, because the biofilm barrier cannot stop a particle from going in. I myself have pulled out of my system at several different stages of the development where I've seen where it has broken down the protein in my body, where it has started to bend the material, where it has extended what looks like a fiber optic or a tube, which is basically your graphene. I have seen it where it has started to assemble and attract the metal particulates to it, so that it encoats the tube. I have seen it where it's completely coated. I've seen it in all stages of size. Now at this stage where I'm at now, when I pull it out, it is coming out tattered because of what I've been working on and the things I've developed. Did you see the new video we put out on the triangle?
On the what? Your voice cut out? New video on what?
On the triangle. We put out a video just this week on how to build this triangle, which is similar to the bucket method, but the triangle goes into the actual bathtub with you.
Oh, good.
And what it does is when you're in the tub, you can move the triangle all around you. You can put it between your feet, your knees, up near your thighs, between your legs, on the side of your legs, by your hips, your shoulders. You can put your head on it. And what it does is that when this thing's pulsing and you're in that saline wash, what you're doing is you're shutting down the program, and then the salts actually help flush out the material, because there are guys out there right now running around with EMPs that are EMPing these things, which does work, but you still have to draw out the density of these particulates out of the body. If you don't, you wind up with a form of metal poisoning. So yeah, so we come up with this, and we showed you how to build it. We went on to YouTube, and we showed people how to build one. Already had a couple people contact me, say they've already built it and they've used it, and they're seeing results already. So that's pretty neat.
Okay, check this story out. I think you're gonna love this one. This is from somebody sent me. It's from psych.org, whatever that is. Humanity may soon generate more data than hard drives or magnetic tape can handle. A problem that has scientists turning to nature's own solution, their DNA. There's a big study, Columbia University. All these studies are financed by the government with grants, by the way, just so you know. So DNA is an ideal storage medium because it's ultra compact and can last hundreds of thousands of years, and kept in a cool place and demonstrated. So they figured out how they can do a whole feature-length film on a little bit of just a touch of DNA.
Yep, that's what I was explaining to you before. On 1 terabyte, you can write 1 terabyte on 1 nano. You got to remember, nanoparticles.
Okay.
When they get inside of you, attached to your DNA, they attach to your genetic code, they attach to your chromosomes. This is the problem with this technology. And you want to know something interesting about this technology, just so you have an FYI on it. It's a $1.6 trillion or $2 trillion a year industry right now. They've never done any research on it in regard to the impact it can have on mammalian life, reptilian life, any life, okay, especially mammalian, because that's what we are. We're mammals. And according to the scientists, anyway.
Speak for yourself. I'm just kidding.
Okay. But, I mean, they've never really looked at this from a perspective of what it could do to us. Now that we're having outbreaks, and people like this fellow was talking about TIs and all this, and more is coming. There'll be more other things are going to be happening, because the way this thing is, Patrick, it translocates to every part of the body. Your seed has these nanoparticles. The egg of a woman has these nanoparticles. We don't even know at this point what kind of mutations this is going to form when two people cohabitate and produce an offspring, because it's going to be right to the very core on a cellular level throughout their whole body. Their whole body will be assembling with these things, because these also self-assemble. So we are dealing with a whole level of genetics now that we have never, ever encountered. And we got these futurists talking about embedding strips of networks, strips of software inside of our brains, so that we can now access artificial intelligence. And this is the sales pitch, that we will be smarter, faster, more resilient, and so forth and so on. What they don't tell you in this is that once you have embedded yourself with this technology takes over. You have no way of stopping it at this point because it's bypassed all your defense mechanisms. That's why when I look at all this stuff, and I look at it from a 50-year, development. You know, from 1960, we were exposed to nanoparticles in the air. 1970, they were putting it in the food supply. 1980, they gave us GMOs and genetically engineered foods, and then they gave us the glyphosates and the atrazines and God knows what else. Then in the 1990s, they started irradiating everything, and everything that they've done in the last, like I said, 5 decades has created anomalies in human development and evolution, and it has basically started devolving the human race on a wide spectrum. So, we're seeing health issues today that we never saw before, and I attribute it mainly to the saturation levels of these nanoparticles that we have been exposed to. Even the cancers, and you know how they say it's a fungus or it's a bacterium or it's a parasite. These things are all secondary contributors to what causes cancer. When you're taking particulate matter and getting it into the body at a high level of concentration, which causes cellular oxidation and breakdown, causes a rewriting of the genetic code, rewriting of the DNA, turning things on when they shouldn't be on, turning things off when they shouldn't be, when they should be on, eating things that strip the body of materials or compositions that are supposed to be there to help protect us and maintain our immune system, like zinc, copper, boron, selenium. They're gone because of the glyphosate exposure. When you're looking at, vaccines, this is another wonderful form of insanity.
A lot of nano stuff in there, right? A lot of nano stuff in vaccines.
Huge. And
which is never talked about either. You know, the only thing people really look at, Tony, as you know, is the mercury, right? Pretty much that's what they talk about, mercury.
But the mercury is a nano.
It's a nano too, yeah.
Okay, but look at it. Look at the other end of this. We're also putting human diploid cells. We're putting aborted baby material in these vaccines, which is another form of genetics added to these other genetics. And we're putting monkey blood, sheep blood, kidneys, dog, chicken, cow. We're putting in, polymer material in there, propylene glycol. What is propylene glycol doing in a vaccine? So when you're looking at all these things, these are all things that all add up on the whole picture. And, I look at it from actually 4.7 decades or 50 years of these kind of things that we've been exposed to. This is why when you look at the younger generation, they walk down the street, they're distorted. And that's not because of what they're eating. That contributes to what they're eating. It's because of the level of poisons their bodies are containing now and the level of inflammation that they have. When you see a 10-year-old boy or a girl and they're round for sound, they can barely walk and wobble, but they've got their cell phone going. That's activating this technology. So, the more I look at this stuff, the more it raises my eyebrow. I'm thinking this was a well-planned assault on the human race. That's how I'm seeing it. And, when they tell you you're putting things up in the cloud, in the computer language, put your stuff up in the cloud. They literally mean you're putting your stuff up in the cloud, not a satellite, because the atmosphere right now is so heavily saturated with nanoparticles. You can transmit anything you want now through the atmosphere and store it up there because of the high density of these materials that can store data. So like I said, if one nanoparticle can store a terabyte of data, imagine a sky saturated with this material, what it can store and what can transmit from one end of the planet to the other. Artificial intelligence is no longer bound by cables and wires and boxes now. It has been set free and it moves to and fro across the planet. It runs the planet. Yeah. Everything that you're dealing with is run by an AI today, or pretty much.
What did you think of the data dump from the CIA? Were you surprised?
I'm not familiar with that. What's going on there?
Oh, you know.
Well, you got to remember, I'm so caught up in this.
Yeah. So here's a short story. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks did a thing called Vault 7 almost a week ago, maybe last Tuesday, and it was only about 10% of the information they have, and they confirmed through documents that we've been taught over the years that the CIA has a backdoor to everything. They did finance Google and Microsoft and probably Facebook, but I don't know. I've never seen documents on that. So they have a back door to it all. And as we suspected forever, all these cameras, they can turn on a telephone if they want to listen to you anytime. Computer, cameras, TVs, all this stuff. It's all interconnected, and all this came out, in a WikiLeaks thing in the United States, worldwide actually. It was a big deal, and I don't know what the fallout's going to be on it. But we knew that was going on.
Yeah, well, they did something in Canada in 1980 where they incorporated a system called Primus.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they put it in, the CIA also had access to the Canadian government. So it was backdoor against for them to spy on the system. And again, I've been well aware of that. I didn't know what that was called, but I was aware of the fact that all our systems are bugged. Even when you're, how you're typing on Skype or whatever.
Sure, it's all.
And all of a sudden you're typing, all of a sudden there's a delay. That's the AI monitoring what you're saying.
It's all. There are no secrets. We definitely. A quick thing. Well, let me do the break, and then I got a couple ideas on this cloud and also biofilms I want to ask you about. Okay, we always have fun with Tony. As you can tell, he's a deep researcher into the deep state. Oh, I like the way that came out. Deep researcher into the deep state. A lot of people feel are behind all of this technology to thin out the human race. They call it eugenics. It's been around. The idea for 25, 30 years. I mean, that's the theory behind it all. Tony looks into it. And we're going to do this little break here and then be back.
Previously on our show, we talked to the now legendary Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, and he mentioned sulfur. He's a fan.
The conditions in our world and our environment are changing so dramatically that people need to have a whole host of self-help tools and methods, and I'm very thrilled about your version of MSM. It's a right way to go. Sulfur is part of most of the detox enzymes, and the critical part that is right now we have a much higher need of healthy sulfur than we had even 10 years ago, and so I followed your work a little bit. That you're on the right track with what you are promoting.
Well, Dr. Klinghardt, we've heard from thousands of people over the year how they really love this product. You can click and order our pure sulfur, 3 prices, United States, Canada, and worldwide right here, or email me, Patrick, at oneradionetwork.com for a discount for more than £4. Pure sulfur, one of the few places where you can get this product. oneradionetwork.com.
We receive emails all the time, and you can look on our website there on the sulfur page and see the testimonials. And we have hundreds and hundreds of people that have just emailed us, and we ask them to do it. If you guys have a good experience, even if you had a bad experience, go ahead, send it in. And we've had very few negative. I mean, the only negative stuff we've got from it is people say, I really felt bad when I start taking it. So it's a detox thing. And Tony could probably fill us in more on what MSM or sulfur does in the body. But people feel better, they have more energy, feel brighter. Somebody just wrote in today, I love your product and I want to do 4 pounds instead of 2. If you want more than 4 pounds, email me, Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. And we're going to be ordering up again, today. Probably early this evening.
In the 1950s, Dr. Joanna Budwig had a 90% success rate curing people of cancer using fresh pressed flax oil and cottage cheese. The combination of dairy protein with unoxidized flax oil was able to restore oxygen transfer. It is now well known the cells of our bodies require unoxidized omega-3 and 6 seed oils to both attract and absorb oxygen. For the first time, there are seed oils with virtually zero oxidation, even after 1 year at room temperature. All other, quote, cold-pressed seed oils are structurally damaged and significantly oxidized by the time you consume them. Andrea's seed oils retain the correct shape, electron content, and information that is quickly communicated to all the cells of your body. By taking these sacred seed oils, your whole body will begin to use oxygen as the Creator designed it. Now combine this with our Life Force Enhanced One World Whey Protein, and you have a winning combination to confer energy and health like never before. Click on the 5 seed oil banner right here on oneradionetwork.com. That's oneradionetwork.com.
I had a big slurp. Slurp is a tablespoon of the pumpkin seed oil. I'm doing a little spring prostate rejuvenation. There's nothing wrong with it, but I thought just for fun. So I'm doing this pumpkin seed oil 2 or 3 times a day, and then also picked up some standard process. What is it? The classic herb for prostate. What is it? You know what I mean. It'll come to me. So I'm just doing that for fun, just to preventative kind of thing. But these seed oils are wonderful. They tested 2 of them, the black cumin seed, which is incredibly powerful. You can just Google that one and see some of the things that that's used for. Had 0, that's as in goose egg, oxidation. I don't know of any other oils that can tout that, because of the low temperature and the least amount of friction possible, under 100 degrees, and they don't even squeeze the seeds into the oil itself, and that's why it tastes so amazing. And they had 0.002 on the flax. So they got flax, pumpkin seed, sunflower seed, see if I can remember them all, black sesame seed, 5-seed blend, pumpkin, flax, cumin, coriander. Wow, that's a beautiful thing. You talk about getting rid of some heavy metals, cilantro, which is what the coriander seed is, flax, hemp. So there's 6 or 7 of them, and you can check them out on our website. Look for the One World Way ad. Also, a quick little thing on One World Way. They are out of stock, and so they're offering a discount between now and I believe about a week from now or 10 days from now, when they come back into stock, and then they'll ship, but they have a special discount because of the inconvenience. So that's a pretty cool thing. So if you'd like to get some One World Way, order today. You'll get it shipped in about a week or 10 days, and then also you can get a couple of these seed oils. I really like the sunflower oil, and I like the hemp. That's really nice, and then the pumpkin seed. And so, guys, if you want to juice up your prostate, just get a couple bottles of that pumpkin seed oil, and you could take that every day for a couple months. So it's going to make it even more happy than it is today. And you like a happy prostate, right? Sure.
We talk about your health, wealth, and well-being on One Radio Network.
Being in the midst, okay. You know what's interesting? I mean, I'm glad you pointed this out.
What is interesting?
You pointed this out. When you people get the idea, that when you're an activist or you're a researcher or you're a herbalist or whatever you are, that there's a lot of glory to this, and there is no glory in any of it, because number one, we shouldn't have to be dealing with these kinds of anomalies that are causing so much disruption and destruction in our health and our lives. And the only thing that comes out of this really is the fact that, one, we're aware of it now, and two, that now we can do something about it. Because when I look at this research, there's not too many things in this life that can rattle me. But when I see this, and I see how this is such a Trojan horse, you got to eat. It's what you eat that's going to make a difference as well. Now we have to look at what we were taught in the past as healthy isn't so healthy anymore, because the means of the hijacking or the sabotaging of our health is coming through the food supply and through the water and air, of course. But, you've got to eat, and you got to breathe. So when you're seeing these things and you're seeing people, and I'm getting emails daily now, it's not just, hit and miss like before, but daily, where people are contacting me from all parts of the planet, in regard to nano poisoning, what I call nano poisoning, what they're calling Morgellons. And that whole thing with Morgellons and the Lyme and the mold, that has been such a sick diversion and distraction, how they've been diverting people into these things, getting them on misdiagnosing them with Lyme. And then they go through a whole process of trying to fight the Lyme.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give people a quick synopsis of Lyme and how you can get rid of it very quickly. If you do have a Lyme condition, an electrical charge or jolt through your body will take out the Lyme within 3 to 5 days, if that's what it is. Now, if you run an electrical jolt through your body and it's not Lyme and it's this nano poisoning, you will activate it. So there's really no way of telling at this point. You can take things that will have an antiparasitic or even an antiviral because they're pretty close to knocking things out. And if that doesn't do it, then chances are you do not have Lyme. Now, it also has been decided that 9 out of 10 people have been misdiagnosed with Lyme. And I think that was done on purpose by the medical industry to keep people, again, in the dark about what's really going on. Because how many people, I mean, you yourself would know this, being in the position you're in, have contacted you alone and saying that they've done all the protocols on everything that they've been told they had, and it didn't work. Just didn't work. And so you have to look at it. Well, there's a percentage of people that will do it wrong. I won't follow the protocols as they should. So there's room and leadway there thinking that, okay, human error. But there are other people that I've contacted who are very dedicated in getting through this and getting it done, and things are just not working. So you have to look at that. So, okay, so what's going on here? Why? I mean, this should have knocked this. Okay, like when I talk about women with yeast infections, right? Because this is a real big common problem with women today. A lot of that yeast isn't an infection. It's, in fact, a result of your immune system. You do have yeast in you that actually helps your body fight off excesses in the body. But this yeast is trying to, again, deal with a synthetic life or a protected technology. And as a result, it gets wiped out. Again, the bacteria will swarm on the yeast, and then you have problems. And a lot of times when people are excreting urine out of their body, taking a pee, and they look at this white foamy material that's coming out, that's not a yeast infection. That's your biofilm that you've excreted. That's what that is. You have an excess of biofilm. So when a lot of things, like I said, after looking at this research really intensely and seeing what has been told in the health food industry, what people are being diagnosed at in the allopathic industry, it's just one big screw up. And it's not, there's no glory in this, because again, when you start telling people this stuff, first thing they think is you're a nut. You're a crackpot. You're crazy. And then, after a period of time, when they see that you're not going away and that you're pursuing these statements and then backing them up. I mean, you go on my website, there's all kinds of links on nanotechnology. By the next couple of days, I'm going to be putting stuff on biofilm. I'm going to be putting stuff on quantum dots. I'm going to be putting all kinds of stuff on there in relation to what's going on, so everybody can understand how they're being assaulted without them even being aware.
Well, I'm on my 4th tinfoil hat, really. So I've gone. I've gone through 3 of them.
That's not such a bad idea.
I've gone through. I know it's probably good. I've gone through 3 of them. Isn't that funny how that term came out? Probably 30, 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
People that wear tinfoil hats, they're worried about aliens and all that stuff. And, the more you look at it, I mean, I stand on tinfoil every day, all right, to disperse the EMFs off of my body. We learned from Dave Stetzer. So I got tinfoil on my feet, and then I got my tinfoil hat, so I'm good. Tony, this is, I want to ask you about biofilms. Dr. Bob Marshall, I don't know if you know him. He's out of Austin. Pretty cool guy I've known forever, 30 years, and he's got some great products and so picky about what he puts in. He's got all these crazy machines that test them and stuff like that. And he talked years ago about when you have metal in your mouth, like a metal underneath a theoretical, alleged porcelain crown. They used to, they still do today, unless you go to the right dentist, right? They'll put a piece of metal, aluminum, right? Then they cover it up with some kind of porcelain, and they say, oh, here's a porcelain crown. That'll be $1,500, right? Well, unless you go to the right kind of dentist, you'll get that crown. If you go to a good one, you won't. Anyway, he used to say, still does, that when you have metal in your mouth of any kind, that this also contributes to forming a biofilm thing in the mouth, and then these guys go in there and set up camp and reproduce and all of that too. Does that along the same line you're talking about?
He's dead on. Biofilm loves synthetics. It's not even just the aluminum. Okay, now we're using nanoparticles to make these partials and these plates and everything else. We're using a silica zirconia composite, which is all nano. And so
wait a minute, is zirconia nano? I don't think it is.
No, zirconia. No. Anything can be nano, Patrick.
Right. I thought zirconium was a non-metallic. So it could be nano. It could have been made with nanoparticles. I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let me define nano. Yeah. Nano basically is not what the material is, but the size of the material.
Of it. We understand. Okay. Yeah, we understand.
Okay, so now for instance, I can have iodine.
Yeah.
And I can have nano iodine. They're different and they work differently. So iodine, your body can use because it's on a micron level, and your body can use it and diffuse it and discard it. But on a nano level, it actually causes severe damage to the body. It doesn't work with the body. It's a completely different. It's a different effect because the size of the particulates, the smaller they are, the more they aggregate or agglomerate, depending on what material they're going to, and the amount and volume causes severe levels of oxidation, causing the damage and then causing the effect of a biofilm to form. So anybody who's got a prosthesis, anybody who's got any kind of dental issues, any synthetic, these piercings that people are putting on their bodies, will produce a biofilm.
So I guess it's just an implant in the head, either titanium or even zirconium. Well, no, zirconium's not metal, so maybe it doesn't. So I don't know.
No, it will. No, zirconia will too. Anything, Patrick. You got to remember, it's not the material, it's the size. That's where people get kind of mixed up.
Right,
they think, well, how can something so small do?
Yeah, we're not sure if zirconium is nano, so we shouldn't.
No, you can't say no, Patrick. It is nano.
Oh, it is?
Zirconium on its own is not a nanoparticle, but you can make zirconia into nano. You can make anything. Gold can be made into nano. Silver can be made into nano. Copper can be made into nano.
I understand, but we don't know if the zirconium implants we're talking about in dentists are nano.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've looked it up.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Really?
The partials you're wearing are all made out of nanomaterials these days, all of them. And because they're more durable and are strong. Look, when you're talking nano, okay, and
hold on a second. You're kind of getting ahead of yourself. Partials are not made out of zirconium. The only thing that's used for zirconium.
Mine are.
Really?
Mine are.
Really?
Yeah, mine are.
What do you do?
When I had them done, I looked at the material. I didn't know about nano at the time, but I looked at them. I asked her if I could see the materials and the composition, and I've got research on it as well. That they're using nano now on your partials, everything that's in your mouth is going, except for the titanium that they're burrowing into your jawline. There for the what do you call that? Yeah, whatever. Anyhow,
but everything what they call is an implant. Well, they were having trouble with titanium years ago, so. In Europe, they came up with this zirconium because they said it wasn't a traditional metal and all of that. So it's supposedly a better choice, but I don't know.
I would probably then say that, and chances are they're using a nano composition with that too.
How could somebody find out for sure if they're considering a zirconium implant?
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. I didn't know about that.
Find something, let me know. Because we talk a lot about it on the show, and it'd be a good service for people. So yeah, Please do.
I did do the research on the partials because, like I said, I've had them done, and yes, they are made with nano, and I've got a whole thing. Actually, somebody that was listening to the show sent me they actually found the information for me, and what's going into even when they're putting these white fillings in, that's all nano. So, like I said, your mouth today is no longer just a metal. The mercury, believe it or not, the mercury is safer than the materials they're putting in today. Because the materials they're putting in today has such a high rate of being a transceiver, and in some cases now, I'm reading, some dentists have actually put antenna inside of people's teeth.
Why is that?
Which is really interesting. Well, because again, it's easy. Well, like you talked about that guy who's got the chips inside of him. A lot of people have been chipped in the teeth and not even know about it. A lot of the teeth issues is, again, because of these transmissions going on in the oral cavity. So there's a lot more going on that meets the eye with, when you're talking about targeted individuals and how they've been implanted. A lot of people have been implanted, and not even be aware of it. And especially when it comes to to your teeth, you would not even know it's been done because, again, you can't see what the dentist is doing. And the compositions today now are not even, they've gone beyond silicon. Now they're using carbon.
Okay, Tony Pantalleresco, it is March 13th, 2017. Patrick Timpone, OneRadioNetwork.com. If you feel like growing your own food, you're going to have a good shot at learning a lot about it tomorrow with George Altgeld. He's one of the best. He is outside of Austin, and people love him. He's much more than just a agricultural guy, gardening guy. He knows chemistry, and he's amazingly intelligent fellow. Really cool. And he's going to be on 2 hours tomorrow. Our spring gardening special with George Altgeld tomorrow. Wednesday, Andrew Goss. Thursday, a biobiologist, George Swanson. He went over to China, and he found out some of the materials that they used, and he was the one that has really brought out this magnacrete material that is in China. And I don't know if you know this or not, just to give you a little tidbit, that all of the sheetrock that is sold here in the United States, at some time or another, it will mold. It's kind of like a planned obsolescence. It'll mold. But you can now even get sheetrock made from magnacrete, which will not mold. Magnacrete can also be used in a slab or a patio, and you don't have to use rebarb. And we know that rebarb screws up your whole electrical field, which is probably why most people, you hang around in Home Depot and in stores and stuff like that long enough, you don't feel very, very good because they got rebarb to hold the concrete from cracking. And as anybody, energetic guy can tell you, you live in a slab when there's a lot of rebarb, and it will make your whole electrical field cattywampus after a while. So there's cool things to learn about here, and we will do it on Thursday with George Swanson. Hey, you guys, you dudes, we recently talked to Daniel Vitalis about testosterone.
So many men today are reaching an age where they begin something we call andropause, and this is the male equivalent of menopause. So we know women go through menopause, but less understood in the mainstream is the idea that men go through andropause. And so they hit a certain age, but men start to really drop off in their hormone production. So what a lot of people are using is drug forms of hormones. And as always, when you extract a drug and you give it to somebody, you create more imbalance. The drug is found usually in nature, but it's found with a suite of other substances that support its metabolism and keep our bodies healthy. So one of the medicines on our landscape that can be incredibly useful for this is the pollen from pine trees, because it helps to increase those anabolic hormones in the male body and helps to keep a male whose hormones have naturally started to drop up.
Thanks, Daniel. When you click on Surthrival through our website, One Radio Network, you'll see a couple of choices. The 4 Ps has some different herbs and a little more kicking your giddy up, and then the regular gold pine pollen is there for you on any Surthrival link on OneRadioNetwork.com. I was introduced to a bodywork guy probably a year ago when I had the sciatica. I don't even know what it was it 6 months ago? Sharon knows. And it was a trip. And so his name is Will, and he's been on the show. So I've been doing body work with Will, not totally regularly, but now I'm getting back every 2 or 3 weeks. And we're just going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to unwind all the different muscles that are tied in with each other. And it's just amazing work. I mean, I just don't, I guess I'm going to get to the point where I'm just one big jellyfish and can bend my leg up totally all the way up and getting more and more flexible, which is pretty fun. And so I did 4 hours yesterday, and I'll tell you what, boy, yesterday afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, I felt like I had the flu, and it was pretty cool, and I had a headache, definitely detox thing going on from that. So I got into one of Tony's super duper baths that we'll get into and give you the recipe for. I did that. And then about 2 hours later, I did the sauna, And then a little bit after that, I did the health bath on the rebounder, and then rebounded a bit and woke up feeling great. These rebounders and saunas are a couple of tools that you can purchase from us. And you can go to oneradionetwork.com, a far infrared sauna. These are really nice units. They get very high, very low magnetic fields, no EMFs of any kind, RF frequencies and all of that, and the rebounders. And they're a lifetime warranty on the rebounder. And then most of the things you can get for the bath that we'll tell you about, you can get in our store on One Radio Network, Epsom salts. Well, we'll go through the whole thing. So we got the detox, a lot of 3 good detox tools right here on oneradionetwork.com. So Tony talks about all these challenges. So we think that these 3 ways, we'll see if Tony has more 3 ways that you can detox. Of course, the sulfur is a key to that too, because it has a love affair with heavy metals and other yuck stuff. Pretty cool. All from oneradionetwork.com to keep you clean and mean. Not mean, clean and whatever. Clean and clean.
Know the source on One Radio Network.
We talk about your health, wealth, and well-being on oneradionetwork.com.
Believe in magic. Once a month, we go on our little Skype and click on Tony's picture, and the next thing you know, he's talking to. That's pretty magical, Tony, when you think about it, isn't it? I mean,
Hey, I just sent you in your Skype
yeah.
a compilation of what's in the composition of your teeth, and zirconias, nano zirconias in
Don't
there.
say my teeth. I don't have any in there. Teeth.
Okay.
People's teeth.
Okay, you have no teeth.
I have no teeth. Tony, now wait a minute. See, every time you do that Skype thing, have no idea how to get it. Okay.
All you got to do is open up the dialogue box,
Okay,
right?
I just opened it up, but I don't have it.
Okay, scroll down to the very bottom.
Okay. The bottom. The bottom.
Very bottom, because sometimes it may show. And at the bottom, you'll see summary of the current compositions of Nano. Table 1 summary of anyway, it's there.
I
you
see.
click on
Table
it.
1 summary of current nanomaterials in the dental field. All right. Okay.
Click on it.
Good job.
You click on it, it should open up for you.
Okay. And this goes through a lot of the different things that people are getting put in their mouthpiece. Okay, I'll look at that and see.
Like I said, you'll see there's more than there's titanium as well. So there's a lot of things that, again, we're exposed to inadvertently without us being aware of it. And just like I said, okay, let's go back in time for a minute. 1970, it was put in the food supply. So what happened is, because those of us who were born in the 50s or after, the preceding post-war generation, our genetics were pretty solid because what our parents had consumed, and because they weren't exposed to vaccines, weren't exposed to chemtrails, genetics, frequencies, whatever. I mean, they were exposed to whatever they were exposed to, but pretty much their genetic code was intact. As time went on, and the shift in the paradigm was going on with the food supply, and they started adding nanoparticles into the food supply, what was happening was, all of a sudden we had dental issues. And everyone was blaming sugar on this, but what was happening was the silica in the food supply was damaging the teeth, causing the teeth to weaken and allowing things to happen, like the biofilm we were talking about. Over the same period of time, consuming these things, they would have translocated throughout the body because they penetrate everything. At 0 to 50 nanometers, it goes through everything. At 100 nanometers, it doesn't. It doesn't penetrate. That's when it accumulates, whether it's in a fluid, as an agglomeration, or as in a solid material, as an aggregation. So when you're looking at this over several decades of consuming these things would have had a chance to saturate, translocate, and then accumulate throughout different parts of the body, causing different kinds of health issues, causing different types of autoimmune breakdown. Your cancers, your viruses, your parasites, all these things would be attributed to the fact that your system was already saturated, broken down, and then, as I said, adding glyphosate to the equation, adding other things to the equation to further deplete the system so it can't fight, made you more susceptible, more open to whatever was the current mode of attack at that time. So
yeah, pretty interesting here. I opened this thing up. They have dental adhesives rather, use Nano. Some root canal fillings, of course, we don't recommend those. Nano. Bone repair materials. Bioceramics, not sure what that is. Silicone, denture-based materials, coating materials for dental implants. So it looks like they coat these dental implants, and there's Nano on there. That's not good. Drug delivery and tumor imaging is all Nano stuff, too.
Now, let me point out something else. Every time you bite into something, okay, these things eventually wear out and get loose. And as a result, okay, you swallow the stuff, goes through the system. It can penetrate through the stomach lining. It can penetrate through the intestinal lining. It can penetrate through the liver. It can, it can translocate and into the lungs or vice versa, out of the lungs into the system. So this is, and then when it gets into the brain, the blood-brain barrier, because it can penetrate through that. All those different nanoparticles that you're seeing there, when they get into the brain, cause brain damage because they go to they locate to different parts of the brain where they have an affinity to, and then they start to cause, again, brain. This is why so many people are having problems with memory or having problems with focus or even thinking. So and again, the very air we're breathing has high levels of nano compositions and particles. We don't even know today, after 5 decades of mixing all these materials in the atmosphere, we have no idea today the chemical reactions that have occurred, the compositions that are there now, and the fact that now there's bacteria that was land-based has now gone airborne, and which is attaching itself to these particulates, again, forming a different form of biofilm, but in an atmospheric level. So we're in a different paradigm altogether in regard to what is impacting us on our health, and you have to take these things into consideration today more so than ever when doing a prognosis or a diagnosis on people and what you have to give them. The sulfur is great, and you have to give that today. You have to also give phosphorus with it, but you have to combine them now more with other minerals that can help displace some of these particles that are getting inside your body. You have to replace the zinc. You have to replace the copper. You have to replace the boron, you have to replace the selenium, and you have to replace the iodine, because these are the 5 main minerals that help fortify your immune system and keep them at its optimal. You need to incorporate manganese in small amounts, magnesium for sure. A lot of people are magnesium deficient because we got so much aluminum coming into us from the atmosphere and from the food that's displacing the aluminum and the calcium out of the body, and when you put them back in, they help push the aluminum out of the body. So these things are all required, but again, if they're bound with either a sulfur, now the cheapest sulfur and anti-aluminum product you can get on the market right now is Epsom salt, because Epsom salt is a form of magnesium sulfate, and when you drink that, it too helps flush the aluminum out of the body, plus other things and radiation. But the other thing about that too is women need to do this more than men, because the aluminum in the atmosphere causes what they call a metalloestrogen, which can activate the receptor sites to produce unwanted estrogens in the body. This is why so many women are having problems with their reproductive system, because of the aluminum exposure from the atmosphere. This is one thing they can take to flush it out, or they can take MSM and magnesium in combination, again, to help flush it out. So this is really important. Men need to take more selenium. Okay, selenium bound in some kind of sulfur, because selenium will displace the cadmium that we're being exposed to from the atmosphere, which is also on a nanoscale. Cadmium flushes out selenium, making us wide open for any kind of cancer or infection in the testicle area or penile area or even the prostate. So this is important to understand. This is why I said today you have to really understand how you are being afflicted, or how these things are getting into your system. Everyone's going out there trying to buy organics. Everyone's trying to go out there and buy as clean as possible, and this is encouraged. But you have to recognize as well that what goes up must come down. And if you've got chemtrails in the atmosphere that have all these compositions, then you have to change the paradigm of what you have to determine is healthy and clean. And I tell everybody now, do not eat above surface vegetables. Eat the roots. The roots is where you have to go. They're going to be less contaminated and far more nutritious than the stuff growing out above the ground, because the stuff that's above the ground is going to be saturated right to the core of the genetic of the plant. So when we're looking at this stuff, and I have had people...
Okay, we got to do a station break. All right, okay. Tony Pantelleresco is with us, and fortunately, because of guys like Tony and other people we have on the show, and other products that we have and tools, all is not lost, because all we do is keep on top of these things. And we're going to get into that now, and we're going to take your emails. If you'd like to send Tony a question, Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. And we'll just do a station break, and then we'll do this.